down. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da
Yo. Okay, seems like it works. Ooh, you know what I should... Hold on. That's... Is that too much going on at one time? Probably.
Video is brought to you by Audible. To try out Audible for 30 days, go to audible.com/KendallRay or text Kendall Ray to 500 500. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Happy to have you here once again. Hope you guys are all having a nice day so far. So, today we are diving into the legal world once again, which I guess we do every video, but today we're going to be talking about some lawsuits. I'm actually a big fan of reality TV. I find it really balances out all the true crime stuff I watch all the time. So when I'm trying to just turn my brain off and wind down, I love some good reality TV, some juicy drama, and honestly, the worse the better. And one of my favorite shows to put on when I'm just in the mood to veg out is The Real Housewives. And I kind of dabble between casts and seasons. There times where I've just gotten bored with some of them and I've moved on to a different one. There's like several different versions of this show all throughout the country. Like there's Real Housewives of Orange County, Beverly
I like the
Hills,
Beverly Hills
Atlanta,
one
which is my
too.
favorite. And now I think they even have Utah, they've got New York, New Jersey. There's a bunch of them. And one that I've been a little more interested in the last few years is the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But most of the women, most of them on the show are housewives. They have a lot of money due to their husbands, and Erica Jane is definitely one of those people. She does make her own money, but nothing compared to what her husband Tom Girardi made. And you might be wondering why I'm talking about this on this channel. Well, holy shit. This guy Tom, wow. They should call him Dirty Tom, honestly. I mean, this guy was a total fraud. And there's a lot of questions about what Erica knew and what she didn't know, and it's all kind of unfolding right now in the courts. So I want to talk about this because there are actually a lot of victims in this case. People need to hear this story and what has happened to tons of Tom Girardi's clients because of his selfish actions. And the whole story is honestly just mind-blowing. I mean, what a facade. Now, Erica Jane is like her stage name. I'll explain that more in a bit. But Erica was born Erica Nay Chahoy on July 10th, 1971 in Atlanta, Georgia. She grew up in a pretty simple household. Her mother, Renee, was only 18 years old when she gave birth to her, and she ended up being a music teacher. Sadly, Erica's father abandoned her when she was very young, and so she and her mom moved into her grandparents' home in Conyers, Georgia. But her grandmother was more like a mother to her. Erica seems to have gotten a lot of her strong qualities from her grandma, her confidence, her strength, her sarcasm. When Erica was young, apparently she vowed to never let herself become dependent on a man. She was going to work hard for everything that she wanted in life, and she had big aspirations from a really young age. As a kid, Erica always loved singing and dancing. She was involved in musical theater and dreamed of working in the entertainment industry one day.
I was a middle-class kid from Atlanta, Georgia. I had big dreams and I wanted to make them happen.
She used to say, I'm going to be a star when I grow up. But I knew the road was going to be hard.
In October of 1989, just a few months after her 18th birthday, she moved to New York City to go get that dream life. She got a job at a famous go-go strip club called Shakers in Lodi, New Jersey. Around this time, she was meeting a lot of people, making connections. She started doing some modeling. And in the early 90s, she landed a few small acting jobs and even landed herself on 2 episodes of Law and Order. But what Erica really wanted to do all her life was sing and perform, and she was never going to let that dream go. When she was younger, she was a member of 2 different girl bands.
I don't
One
know
of
if
them
this
was
is
called
the
The
right...
Flirts, and she actually...
Hold on, I don't know if this is the right game to play, because it's like too much... Hold on. I'm gonna switch it up. Alright, we're gonna have to update that. Okay. Hold up. Is it loading? There we go.
Was just standing in for someone else who was on a leave of absence. She recorded a few tracks with them, and at that point she knew she had found her true calling in life. However, her plans got a bit sidetracked because eventually she met this DJ, and his name was Thomas Zizzo. They hit it off right away, and they ended up getting married in St. Patrick's Cathedral in December of 1991. Then Erica gave birth to her first son, who was named Thomas, in 1994. Around this time, Erica's manager was really pressuring her to leave home and move to Los Angeles because there's way more opportunity for anyone who wants to be an actor or wants to be a singer possibly, and Erica wanted any of it. So about 2 years later, she divorces her husband and she takes Thomas and goes to Los Angeles to pursue her dream of being a pop star. She had a few more acting roles pop up when she got there in the mid-90s,
Okay,
but
cool.
nothing huge. And she actually spent most of her time working as a waitress. She worked at Chasen's in West Hollywood, which is a nice restaurant. Now, the regulars at this place are normally pretty wealthy, powerful people, and people in the entertainment industry and politics as well. So Erica was constantly waiting on famous actors and singers, business moguls, politicians, and people who could possibly help her out with her career. And the co-owner of this restaurant happened to be one of the most well-connected people in all of Los Angeles, Tom Girardi. Now let's talk about Tom for a sec. Tom was born Thomas Vincent Girardi. He was born on June 3rd, 1939 in Denver, Colorado. He graduated from Yolola High School, which is a private Catholic all-boys school, in 1957. And he continued his private education at Yolola Marymount University for his bachelor's degree, and then he went to Yolola again for law school for his JD. After this, he went to New York University for an additional year of studying and earned a postgraduate degree specializing in consumer law, which is called an LLM, in 1965. And that same year, he ended up starting his own law firm, and he partnered up with a friend of his, Robert M. Peace. So they became the Girardi Keese Law Firm. And the Girardi Keese Law Firm has been incredibly successful. They have recovered over $10 billion worth of settlements for victims of mostly corporations. When he met Erica, he was already one of the most prominent trial lawyers in American history. And by 2003, he would be inducted into the Trial Lawyer Hall of Fame by the state of California. And this was very appealing to Erica. And Tom, as soon as he saw Erica, he knew he had to have her. At the time, she was 28 years old. She's tall, she's gorgeous, she's blonde. They knew each other for about a year before Erica would even give him her phone number. And at first, his assistant tried to call and get it from her, and Erica was not having that. She said that he needed to call and ask for it himself, and he did, and they went on a date, and the rest is history. They started dating, and they were actually married in just 6 months. At this time, Tom was over 30 years older than Erica and had a lifetime worth of experience, but that didn't seem to matter much to either of them. Even Erica always would say on her show that she was not married for money. She would always say they were married for love. That was one thing she really always pushed, is that she was not this gold digger that a lot of people made her out to be. Erica said she was attracted to Tom's intelligence, his positivity, and of course his success. But he was also incredibly caring to her and supportive of her career goals. So of course it wasn't long until Erica quit her job as a waitress stopped acting for the time being, and moved into Tom's 1920s era mansion in Pasadena, California. And this place is just stunning, as you can see in the pictures. Now, before marrying Erica, Tom had already been married twice, but this time it was different, he said. And he also really embraced his role as stepfather to Erica's son, Thomas. So as a trial lawyer, Tom really tried to be the people's lawyer. He was there to represent the people who didn't have voices to represent themselves, represent victims. He was a champion of the people. He would go head to head with the most powerful international corporations, pharmaceutical giants, and even 7 major Hollywood movie studios. Tom's first major victory as a lawyer was actually back in 1970. He was one of the first lawyers in California to get a client over $1 million in a medical malpractice lawsuit. And in his career, Tom won over $1 billion from the healthcare industry and over 30 verdicts of at least $1 million settlements for his clients, including $785 million for the employees of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, who had suffered personal injuries while on the job. He also won $45.5 million from Ford Motor Company after a defective seatbelt paralyzed a 6-year-old. So you can see why Tom got this reputation of the people's lawyer, that he was going to help victims and get as much money as he could from these greedy corporations. He also became a recognized public figure when he represented the residents of Hinckley, California against Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E. PG&E is a utility company who was accused of contaminating people's water, leading many people to develop cancer and other diseases. This was a really serious lawsuit, and in 1966, PG&E agreed to pay $333 million. So Tom really seemed like the hero lawyer, the man who could really get it done and get you the help that you need. And the way that they were able to do so well, and Tom was able to accumulate so much wealth, is because they took on their cases under contingency. Basically meaning if they are able to win the case for you, then they take a percentage of the settlement. But if you lose the case, they don't take anything. But because of the risk involved with taking on a case and not charging if they lose, they get to charge a higher percentage out of the final settlement, and they make a lot because sometimes these cases settle for huge amounts. If people won their cases, Girardi Keese was keeping anywhere from 25 to 40% of the final settlements. Now, Girardi Keese was also known as the place to work. Law students from all over want to get in there because they had, not only did they pay really well and they have great connections, but they also gave employees tons of benefits for working for them. Literally things like luxury company cars and designer suits tailored to your perfect size. They even had their own box at the Staples Center that all their employees could use. You get to go to all these parties if you're in with the Girardi Keese group, you know, like Super Bowl parties and holiday parties, and you're mingling with a ton of high-profile people. And every year, Tom would have this big conference in Las Vegas for his employees, and he would go all out for this. Tom was notorious for hiring really famous entertainment for his parties as well, such as Leanne Rimes, Jay Leno, and Penn and Teller. He was friends with people like Johnny Cochran, which you probably have heard that name before if you're into true crime, but he worked on the O.J. Simpson case, Governor Jerry Brown, and Senator Harry Reid. So you really never knew who you were going to run into at these parties. Tom was also a trustee at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., and he was on the prestigious James Madison Council as well. He also became the first trial lawyer to serve on the California Judicial Council, and Governor Gavin Newsom appointed him to the Judicial Selection Advisory Committee, which is the people who get to evaluate potential judges and decide if they get a spot on the bench. This is a really big position. Recently, a documentary came out on all of this called Housewife and the Hustler, and in it, there was someone talking about how Tom Girardi was kind of almost above the judges in a weird way. Like, he could point to them and go like this, and they would just come on over to him. He had a lot of power in the whole legal system in California. And not only that, he was a major donor in California politics. We know that he gave at least $7.5 million to various candidates over the years. In 2019, Tom and Erica hosted a fundraising event for Joe Biden at the Jonathan Country Club, which is a very famous private country club in downtown Los Angeles. So, as you can imagine, Erica had a very lavish lifestyle with Tom. They were constantly on trips, flying all over the world. They have a international jet, and then they also have a smaller one for domestic flights. Imagine that, 2 planes. But by 2007, Erica was a little bored being in Tom's shadow, and she wanted to be in the spotlight once again. And so it was around this time that she asked Tom to finance her music career. Tom loved Erica. He would do anything to help her achieve her goals and aspirations in life and throw any amount of money at her that she wanted, really. So this is when Erica becomes Erica Jane. Her first single was called Roller Coaster, and for the next several years, she released multiple singles, one after another, and some that were featured in films like Hit and Run in 2009 and American Summer in 2011. And Tom was always cheering her on, trying to get her as many opportunities as possible, and one time, he planned a performance for her. But this wasn't at any event. This was at the Italian American Lawyers Association's annual Supreme Court night in 2011. Tom was the association's president and chose the evening's entertainment, which was a screening of his wife Erica Jane's music video. This is a little awkward because this event is held at the Biltmore Hotel Ballroom, and it usually featured really classy entertainment such as an orchestra. Literally, they played this music video in front of a room of lawyers and judges who did not know what to think. People who were there said this event was a fiasco. But that didn't stop Erica. She continued to use Tom's money to help give her an edge in the entertainment industry. She ended up hiring Michael Jackson's choreographer, Lady Gaga and RuPaul's costume designer, and a songwriter who worked with big names like Madonna, Britney Spears, and Stevie Nicks. At one point, she had 9 hits on the dance club charts for Billboard, and that was kind of becoming her niche at that point. But despite her growing popularity and how much she was enjoying it all, she wasn't really making much money, and Tom wasn't getting much of a return on his investment. And she was actually preparing to retire from the entertainment industry when she was offered another job. And this is what most people know her from. She got cast on the 6th season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And like I said, she really spiced up the show. She made it way more interesting. That show was getting dull. And Erica comes in and she's just interesting. She's sarcastic. She's entertaining. She's funny. She's witty. I don't know. She's got entertainment to her. She's just interesting to watch, which is prime reality TV. So the show started doing way better once Erica was part of it, and it was also beneficial to her because she was able to show her music off and get new fans.
Hold on one second. I want to show you guys something.
Okay. Okay, there she is.
And the thing with the Housewives shows is all of the women on it constantly flex their wealth. All the time. It's who can throw the biggest party, who has the nicest dress, who has the most team members on their glam squads, who's got a plane, who's got the nicest car. I mean, it is so over the top. And Erica just blew all the rest of them right out of the water with her wealth. In her first episode, Tom and Erica show off their private garden, which was actually designed by the same people who did Central Park in New York City. She showed off her giant wardrobe, her huge closet. She has all designer clothes. I think one item in her closet is worth more than everything in mine. And a huge part of her kind of persona on the show was that she was trying to continue her career as a pop star. And in 2017, she released her probably biggest single that she's most known for today, and that is called It's Expensive to Be Me.
It's expensive to be me.
And it is expensive to be Erica Jane. She was hiring full glam squads to do any type of appearance that she ever had. Any event, any time she was on the show, she would have a full hair and makeup team, a wardrobe team. In the Hulu documentary, Heather McDonald, who has a podcast, said that she came to her audio-only recording of her podcast, so there's no cameras involved, and she had a full glam squad with her for hair, makeup, and wardrobe, which, according to Heather McDonald, could cost up to like $2,000 a day. Within a few months, she was also cast on Dancing with the Stars, so she gained kind of a new audience from that as well. And she continued to take some acting roles. She was cast in the TV movie Sharknado 4 in 2016 and had a reoccurring role on The Young and the Restless from 2016 to 2018. And in 2017, Erica did a famous tour for ABC News of her mansion that she shared with Tom.
Yeah, those are fun.
But those are fun, and you can walk in them.
Yeah, I can. I can do lots of stuff in them. How you think I got them? I love short shorts. I'm from the South, okay?
You got
I
your
love
Daisy Dukes.
Come on. I love my Daisy Dukes.
And the tour makes it painfully clear just how extravagant their life was. So over the years, people have watched Erica Jane as she releases new songs, has new performances, new outfits, and is just living her best life, spending all of this money. And meanwhile, Tom is out here working for victims, people who were victimized by corporations and wealthy people. That was Tom's whole career. So that's where this money is coming from. And people that knew Tom were actually very concerned about Erica being on the show and flaunting their wealth, doing these video tours of everything she has, bragging about her private jets, doing songs called It's Expensive to Be Me, when that's kind of frowned upon in this world of law where you're making money off of victims. It's not really a good look. So let's talk about one of those victims that Tom represented. His name was Joe Ramoguez. His whole life changed on September 9th, 2010, which was the opening day of the NFL season. He was at his home with his girlfriend, Jessica Morales, on Earl Avenue in San Bruno, California. They were just sitting on the couch in the living room watching the game when all of a sudden the ground started shaking. And of course, they thought maybe earthquake at first, but it was only for a couple seconds. And then they heard what sounded like a jet engine on a plane outside. And within 3 seconds, this massive explosion went off and went through their whole house and multiple homes. And this scene was so horrific. Joe thought he was for certain going to die. But he somehow stumbled his way to the back door of the house, got out of the house, and when he got out there, someone put an oxygen mask on him and saved his life. A few seconds later, he was completely unconscious. And this explosion was caused by PG&E, the company we talked about earlier that had contaminated the water. It was caused by their gas line erupting, and Joe's house and dozens more were completely leveled. It was insane. And his girlfriend Jessica's body wasn't even found for a few days. She had somehow gone in this shed in the backyard and had died there. It was truly miraculous that Joe even survived. The chances of him surviving were very, very low. He was in the hospital in a coma for a long time. He had burns all over his body, at least 80% of his body actually, and his lungs were severely burned inside as well. His mother, Kathy, got to the hospital as fast as she can, and she was just overwhelmed by everything and did not know what to do. But she knew that Joe would need a lawyer. His doctor said that his injuries were so severe that he was going to need medical care for the rest of his life. So she actually got connected with Tom Girardi, and she was connected through a friend of hers named Kim. Kim was like her best friend. They'd been friends since they were 3 years old. They've raised their kids together. They were very, very close. So she trusted anyone that Kim recommended, and Kim thought that Tom was the man to go to for this type of thing. And Kim was actually a legal consultant, so that's how she had the connection to Tom. Tom had already fought PG&E twice and won both times, so they thought they were in good hands with him. Tom actually visited Joe in the hospital, and Joe said that he was the first person he remembers seeing when he woke up out of his coma, and that he just made him feel like everything was going to be okay. About a year and a half after the explosion, Kim, their friend who connected them with Tom, actually started working for Tom. Tom kind of took her under his wing and taught her everything he knew about law and helped her propel her career for the next 7 years that she would be with his firm. He treated their family really good. And of course, Joe and his mom, Kathy, as well. He would tell them that they were his favorite client all the time. He would take them to dinner all the time. To them, he seemed intelligent, funny, very caring. They really liked Tom and they trusted him. Now, it turns out that the explosion had been caused by a faulty pipe, and so PG&E was definitely responsible. So it was going to be a pretty much slam dunk case. And before the trial even started, they were brought in for a mediation, and when they got there, Tom told them that the case had already been settled. There was no trial. It was all done, which was relieving for Joe. He didn't have to live through the trauma again. He said he was happy with the settlement amount, which we're not sure exactly what that is, but it would be enough to cover his future medical costs and then some. So after Girardi Keese took their cut of the final earnings, the rest of it was put in a trust account. It's supposed to just be held there, separate from the law firm, until it is all released to the client. Now, in these types of situations, lawyers are not allowed to touch this money for any reason. It is one of the biggest rules. If you do get caught taking any of this money that belongs to your client, you can get disbarred very quickly. So Tom ends up talking to Joe and tells him, hey, instead of us just giving out all the money to you, I can take it and invest it into something. He personally guaranteed Joe a 6% return on the investment. And he said there was absolutely no risk of loss. So Kathy and Joe believed him. This was Tom. They trusted him. They didn't really know what the investment was, but when it came time to collect on the investment, Tom started giving them the runaround. He started telling them about this judge, Justice Pinelli, and he was the mediator who settled the case. He told Joe that Justice Pinelli was worried about him and wanted to make sure he was taken care of. According to Tom, this Justice Pinelli wanted Joe to take his settlement in smaller amounts because it would be better for him in the long run. But then eventually the payments to Joe just stopped coming in. And Tom started again using the excuse of Justice Pinelli. Justice Pinelli won't let me give you the money. I don't know why. But he would always end it by promising to send it to him by the end of the week. And he would say things to Joe like, you're not mad at me, are you? And it's all Justice Pinelli's fault. Joe said sometimes the money would come the following week, sometimes it wouldn't. But he got the vibe that something was seriously wrong. And Tom would just leave him these voicemails. I'll play one for an example.
This is Tom Girardi calling. I don't want you mad at me. I'm working like a dog to try and get this thing resolved. As you know, there's part of this is that the mesh cases have to be signed like in this various groups together. I managed to cut you out of that group because the others are not resolved yet. Then, although the bankruptcy court was great, I got to get approval of the regular court of the whole thing. The courts are closed, as you know. It isn't my fault. I mean, I would, more than anything, like to see you get your money and get out of here and like me and everything be sweet.
He was just trying to convince him that everything was okay. But Joe knew something was very wrong. So he contacts Kathy, who works for Jerry Keese, and she tries to help them figure out what's going on. As she looked, though, she couldn't find any legal reason why the money wasn't being given to Joe. None of it made sense. But meanwhile, Joe's medical bills are piling up and he's scheduled for more surgeries soon, so he needs this money. But Tom would continue to assure them that everything was fine. They would get the money soon. He would just continue to blame it on Justice Pinelli. But then a statement came out from Justice Pinelli that he hadn't been involved in this case since the settlement. He had not been telling Tom anything about what Joe should do with his money or how the settlement should be doled out or any of that. But around this time, Kim's son, Paul, died in a motorcycle accident. So all of them kind of had to put everything going on with Girardi Keese on the back burner for a little bit and focus on her son. And because of how Paul had died, she actually wanted to file a wrongful death suit. So she talked to a bunch of lawyers, but none of them would take the case, except for Tom Girardi. But around the time that she hired Tom for her son's case, her best friend's son is still having issues getting his settlement money from Tom. And eventually the payments just stopped altogether. The last check came in January 2017, and then there was nothing more after that. And they knew that something bad had definitely happened. Now, there are a ton of other people that were affected by Tom Girardi and have not gotten settlements that they were supposed to have gotten by now. There are more people that are talked about in the documentary, but for sake of time, I'm just going to focus on Joe's case. But word started spreading around to other lawyers in the firm that clients weren't being given their settlement money and that there were all these issues going on, so people started to jump ship. And around this time, Kim had to completely abandon the lawsuit for her son, the wrongful death suit, because she had to focus on Joe and getting his settlement money because Joe was still alive. He was having surgeries and he needed this money. So she ended up leaving the firm and they went and hired another lawyer who was going to help them get the settlement money from Tom. They filed a lawsuit against Tom and Tom agreed to pay them $12 million. They set up a payment plan. It was broken into 12 payments, $1 million per month. The first payment came through, but the second one did not. So they needed something called enforceable judgment. So they had Tom come back to court and be deposed on the record. And Tom's deposition actually took place on Zoom, and it is wild. He looks like a shell of who he used to be, and he basically just says that he's broke.
Do you have any personal bank?
At one point,
I had about 80 million or 50 million in cash. That's all gone. I also had a stock portfolio of about 50 million, and that's all gone.
That's right. Tom says that he had about $50 to $80 million in cash, and that is just all gone. Did it really all go to Erica's lifestyle? Was Tom putting money elsewhere that we don't even know about yet? But the most shocking part about this Zoom deposition is that all of the money that he had earned for people in settlements, for victims, was gone. He estimates that he has a few $1,000 in his bank account now, and he added that he also hadn't taken a salary from the firm in 2 years. And it seems like Tom can't explain where the money went. So the court needed to get to Erica. They needed to get her to talk on the record about their assets. And Erica has been subpoenaed twice. Once in May of 2020, and then again in September of 2020, but she was out of town both times. So the hearing was rescheduled a third time for this past January of 2021, and she never testified, it turns out. And what's crazy about all this is it's all just playing out on the current season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. In the show, before all of this blows up, all the women go on one of their trips. They go on like a trip every season, and because of the pandemic, they went to Lake Tahoe. And Erica in it seems completely fine. She says that her marriage is good. And then the next episode, I believe it's the next episode, everyone's getting ready for the 2020 election when they all get the news that Erica and Tom are getting a divorce. And the women on the show are talking about how shocked they all are, that they thought they had this great relationship, that they were fine. They had no idea there were any issues in their marriage. So it seemed a little random. And Erica talks about it on the show as well, and talked about how she did everything she could to save her marriage, but Tom pushed her out. So, at this point, there's still a lot we just don't know. But there have been rumors swirling for a long time that Erica could possibly leave Tom due to financial issues. One source has even reported that Erica believes Tom cheated on her, but I don't know about that. It doesn't really matter. But things got really complicated in December of 2020 when a Chicago lawyer named Jay Edelson filed a lawsuit against Tom. And the details of this case were available to the public and the media. And many people believe that these details that came out, and it's pretty shocking, just prove that Tom was a fraud all along. On October 29th, 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 took off from an airport in Jakarta, Indonesia, and 13 minutes later, the Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft crashed into the Java Sea, and all 189 passengers and crew died in the crash. This was the deadliest crash in Lion Air's history. And the surviving spouses and children of the crash victims were represented by Girardi Keese and the Chicago-based class action firm Edelson PC. Boeing quickly reached settlements with individual victims and family members in early 2020 and sent the money to who else but Tom Girardi. Jay Edelson said that he tried for months to contact Tom and get his client's money, but he would never pick up, or he would make up an excuse. And just like he has done with previous clients, he would call Jay Edelson and butter him up and say really bizarre things to him. He would say, "Be nice to me. It's because of me that we got this anyway." So when they saw Erica file for divorce from Tom in November 2020, they knew something was up. They gathered their legal team and tried to figure out their next move. They knew that Tom was definitely in financial trouble, but they didn't realize how bad it really was. But as soon as Jay and his team looked through everything, it was clear what had happened. Tom had stolen millions of dollars from creditors and loan companies, and when that wasn't enough, he stole from his clients too. He probably felt pressure to keep up Erica's career. She really wasn't making any money at her career, but she wanted the world. She wanted to be that next pop star, and that was going to cost money. Not only that, but her entire persona on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills was becoming about her wealth and her extravagant life. What can we show Erica Girardi spending money on next? Jay, like many of us who have followed this, believe that Erica's divorce from Tom is nothing to do with love and only to make the best move for them next financially. But Tom's entire career now is basically a joke. He was built up, like I said, as the lawyer for the people, and it turns out he was screwing the people over and over again, people he pretended to be friends with. Tom had stolen money from the widows and orphans of plane crash victims. It is as bad as it could possibly get. And so Jay knew that he had to file a lawsuit against him. Meanwhile, surviving victims in Indonesia are just waiting to get their settlements. Recently, he spoke with a judge, and the judge asked him on the record what happened to the settlement money, and Tom's lawyer said that he shouldn't answer that, so at this point we have no idea. Also, he referred this case to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and federal prosecutors have requested access to sealed filings in the case, which could mean that this might be a criminal investigation. It should be. And it's quite possible that Tom could face jail time, and I hope he does. Now, court documents have not been made public just yet, so all we have right now is this documentary and what the media is putting out, what Wendy Williams is saying on her show, but it's definitely not looking good for Tom and for Erica. It's possible that Erica was more involved in this than we may think. One of the lenders suing Tom claimed that he gave $20 million from a loan given to his law firm to Erica's company, which is called EJ Global LLC. This is her entertainment company. And so this allegation directly links Erica to the case. So the big questions that everyone has now are, where did all this money go? Are people ever going to get their settlements? And what did Erica know about where the money that Tom was giving her was coming from? Now, Tom's defense attorney has claimed conveniently that he is now mentally incompetent. He told the judge that he doesn't think Tom understands how serious the allegations being made against him really are, and he's acting like all of this is just no big deal. It was also revealed that Tom was hospitalized for a serious illness in 2020, and he was out of work for weeks. His brother believes that Tom suffers from short-term memory loss and isn't capable of making rational decisions anymore, and as of February 2021, Tom is now under a legal conservatorship, and his conservator is his brother Robert. And in March of 2021, a psychiatrist diagnosed Tom with Alzheimer's, which could affect his charges as well. A lot of the public, even his own friends and colleagues, are very suspicious about this sudden diagnosis. They said that Tom had been hosting multiple social events up to all of this and seemed completely fine. Just months before the conservatorship even started, he was still speaking at events, so who really knows? Tom's business partners, Robert Keese, Robert Finnerty, and Jill O'Callahan, have also filed a lawsuit against Tom, just to add to it, for $315,000 of unpaid income. And his partners claim they had no idea what Tom was really doing and where he was taking money from. Their partnership has obviously been dissolved at this point, but Girardi Keese is still being sued by Wells Fargo as well for $882,000, which is all from unpaid taxes, fees, and rent on their firm's office. Even Tom's first wife came forward and renewed a decades-old lawsuit against Tom for failing to pay her $10,000 per month in spousal support. The court forced Tom into involuntary bankruptcy, and his assets are being liquidated now, but he's still being allowed to stay in his mansion for the time being. Erica moved out in fall of 2020 and had to downsize her life majorly. And I'm sure it's been pretty hard on her, but when you think about where all that money came from victims, from people who are just trying to pay their medical bills, it's hard to muster up an ounce of sadness for Erica Jane. I mean, she's still living in such a nice place, more than most people would ever spend on rent, so I think she's gonna be okay. Unless we find out that she knew a lot more than she says she does. In March, the California State Bar filed charges against Tom, and this is the first step towards disciplinary action and disbarment. When the divorce was first filed, Erica actually filed for spousal support from Tom, but it turns out she now makes more money than him, so that's not gonna happen. And Tom actually has requested that Erica pay his legal fees now, so that's fun. And these two do not have a prenup, so it'll be interesting to see how all of this ends up playing out. Erica has claimed that anything that she still has from Tom was a gift. A lot of these are her assets like clothes, shoes, handbags, things like that. At this point, the court could still take those things. It's still being decided whether or not these things are going to be considered gifts. But recent court documents revealed that Erica has been refusing to turn over bank statements and company records for the bankruptcy case. And she also started a new company called Pretty Mess Incorporated, and millions of dollars are still unaccounted for, and some people suspect that she's now using this new company to hide assets while quietly selling clothes on a public website. So what's going to end up happening with Erica is a complete mystery for right now. She might get off easy, or she might go down really hard. Jay Edelson, that lawyer from Chicago who broke open all of this, thinks that she was involved. He is convinced that not only did she know about all the fraud going on, but that she was an active participant in it. And going back to Joe for a second, I wanted to say that he is now among the first in line to collect his settlement money, and hopefully all the other clients that he screwed over, the families of the Boeing crash, all the people who were hurt by Tom Girardi will receive what's rightfully theirs. I mean, let's hope. Right now, it's really hard to say what's going to happen with any of this, but I just think it is so mind-blowing that all of this wealth that was being flaunted around and turned into music videos and glam squads, and Erica Jane's appearance just to keep her being her was costing like $40,000 a month for her glam squad, for all her clothes and everything. All of that is coming from victims' settlements, people who lost their spouses, their children. I mean, Joe lost his girlfriend, and a lot of his life he's living with all types of medical issues due to what he's been through, and he can't even afford to keep up with the bills because Tom's giving it to Erica to spend on more clothes and bags and shoes. Wow. Some people are just truly evil, and I will leave it at that. I want to know your thoughts below. If you want me to do an update on all of this once we get more information, should be in the next year or so, let me know. But before I go, I wanted to thank today's sponsor, Audible. You guys know that I have been a fan of Audible for a really long time, longer than they've even been sponsoring me. And if you guys haven't heard about Audible's Plus catalog, you are really missing out. They have tons of audiobooks, podcasts, Audible originals, guided fitness and meditation programs, sleep tracks for better rest, and more. And every month, Audible members get one free audiobook and full access to the Plus catalog all month long, which is awesome. Normally, I recommend a true crime book for you guys, but today I wanted to switch it up and tell you about
Hold up. Da, 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 da.
I'm gonna buy. I think it's supposed to be live. Is it? We don't know. Welcome to the WAN Show, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a fantastic show for you today.
Yes.
There's tons of good news.
There is good news.
GPUs, they're
Great.
finally coming down in price. Okay, I don't know if this is good news depending on who you are, because it's all caused by a big cryptocurrency crackdown in China. I was trying to get that alliteration going. Cryptocurrency crackdown in China. It's okay, it's close enough. Also, there's a big right to repair executive order that is being cracked down in the United States of America. So that's really exciting for a lot of electronics enthusiasts, even though it's not necessarily directly applicable to us. What else we got today?
Other good news, the Google Play Store is under fire. That's fantastic. Also, there's some... What is this, by the way?
What is what? Oh, my new house challenges?
Yeah. It's like bold and highlighted in red, so it sounds like an exciting topic, but I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of challenges. There's challenges with the new house, okay? So for anyone who knows smart thermostats, all right, here's a preview for the challenges. Every thermostat in the house has only 2 conductors to it. So if you know smart thermostats, you know that could be problematic for me. All right, let's go ahead and roll that intro.
Okay.
Oh my god, I hate this character. I need a fight stick. It sucks with Xbox controller.
And the show is brought to you today by Display Fusion, Need for Seat, and Seasonic. That's right. Good stuff. All right, why don't we jump right into our first topic of the day. GPU prices finally starting to stabilize, like I said they would. After multiple crackdowns by the Chinese government, crypto prices have been tanking, and as they do, they've been bringing GPU prices right down with them. So China's ongoing fight against crypto on account of, well, A, power consumption and environmental concerns. Ha ha ha, I think so. Ha ha, just kidding. I mean, they are concerns. It can put a significant load on the power grid, but I think the bigger one is that this is something that the CCP cannot control. And so obviously they're not a big fan of that. So their ongoing fight against crypto has resulted in mining firms shutting down altogether in some cases, either by government order or fear of prosecution. So as a result, miners are trying to claw back some of what they paid for their now useless mining cards. So here is where the gamers kind of get to do a victory lap, because I'll let you guys in on a little secret. When GPU prices are hyperinflated, miners also have to pay hyperinflated pricing. So when they don't get a return on that investment, ultimately that is right out of the pocket of miners. So hey, this is it's like what I said would happen. Eventually, the tables will turn and gamers will be benefiting from cheap GPUs and miners will be losing money. In fact, so many used GPUs are flooding the market that used pricing has come down, not just to MSRP, but even dipped below due to the sheer excess in supply. Now, that's not everywhere, okay? Region by region, pricing has been behaving differently. And in North America, there have been dips, but not to the same extent as what they've seen in China. So the good news, though, is that if miners are selling rather than buying, that is going to have a trickle-down effect on other regions. So think about it this way, right? There's a number of wafers, right, that NVIDIA has booked. They're going to make X number of GPUs come hell or high water, because they actually have to book this stuff months or in some cases even years in advance in order to get allocation from TSMC or Samsung or any of the fabs that still exists. So what happens then is they've got this fixed amount that they have to build. Now, what you would normally see, and this is NVIDIA's typical go-to-market strategy, is they would start with the highest margin silicon. So that's going to be their professional products, like their Tesla cards, their, I guess they don't call them Quadros anymore, so I don't know, A-series, RTX A-series. And then, of course, their high-end consumer and prosumer cards, like, you know, your Titans.
Wait, how did he even what?
Get the point. Your Titans, your RTX 80s and 90s, stuff like that. Then
That's
what happens is the demand for those starts to taper off a little bit, because, believe it or not, there's a finite number of people in the world that need a $1,500 graphics card. Eventually, they will just all have one. And you got to start making stuff that is a little bit more affordable. So they take that wafer, and instead of slicing it up into, let's say, 100 pieces, they'll slice it up into 500 pieces. And these are smaller, less performant GPUs, and then they go and they integrate those into cards. And that's going to be your 60 series or your 50 Ti or whatever the case may be. That just kind of didn't happen this time around, because there was absolutely no incentive to do it whatsoever. So there was no pressure. In fact, there was upward pressure on pricing, because there was just this utterly unmeetable demand for these high-end GPUs. So what's happening here now is we're seeing that, so that's what's normally supposed to make GPUs more affordable, is they've got to ultimately produce GPUs, and they're going to produce these more affordable ones in order to hit the mass market so they can sell way, way, way more volume of them, even if it's at a lower margin. So now we're seeing a bit of a different effect on what's going to happen to GPU pricing. So instead of miners in China buying these GPUs, they are now selling them. So what that means is all these GPUs that, remember guys, they're making anyway, because they're not that nimble. They can't just on a dime go, oh, crypto fell today.
Planned out far in advance.
Yeah. Crypto fell today, so we're going to make 30 we're gonna make a 3050 instead. It takes a little while to ramp these things up. So what's going to happen is they're going to have this glut of chips. And that's not a huge problem. You know, a company like Nvidia has enough cash on hand that they can have a buildup of supply for a little bit, and they can just hold that, right? That's not going to put an enormous financial strain on them, but it might look bad on their books. So you might start to see them go, oh, okay, we need to get a little bit more aggressive. So they might start to bring back things like game bundles, so they can increase sales to alleviate some of that excess supply. And that's a global thing. So even though the supply might only be excess in China, where people are going to start buying these used GPUs instead of buying new ones, that's going to affect their overall supply of these GPUs, and it's going to mean that they have to get more creative about moving them elsewhere in the world, and it's going to be a delayed reaction because it takes time, but we should see pricing start to go down around the world. That was not the best explanation of...
And Reezy with a green. He's got 18 now. Timeout, Memphis.
Whatever. This is live, and I'm doing my best, you guys. Believe me, I'm doing my best. So blah 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 blah. Oh yeah,
it hasn't completely. It like prices are going to be coming down. We've already seen them coming down a little bit. Locally, we still have 3070s up on Craigslist for like $1,600.
Yeah.
So we're not out of the woods yet. But
so that's another leg, though. That's another leg that I didn't talk about. So remember how Nvidia might have this pressure from holding inventory, and they're going to try and pull every lever other than dropping the price before they pull dropping the price, right? So you want to get game bundles, or you want to do shipping offers, or you want to do combo deals. Combo deals are a big one manufacturers love because they can provide an incentive to the user to buy, but they don't actually have to drop the price and make whoever bought it yesterday feel like a big sucker, right? So they want to pull all these other levers. So any local seller is going to hope they can find someone who doesn't know prices are going down. They're going to pull every lever they can other than dropping the price.
Hold on, it's not even
that's why
showing.
online marketplaces like an eBay, for example, they'll tend to reflect this downward pricing pressure faster than something like a Craigslist, where you might have a less in tune clientele. That's the same reason why you might walk into like a little mom and pop computer shop and they'll have some GPU from 2 generations ago sitting on the shelf for what the MSRP was 4 years ago, right? So if they're the only computer shop in Vernon, BC or something like that, and someone desperately needs a GPU because they were at a LAN and they can't play any video games and they can't get overnight shipping and they're going to miss out or whatever, they might buy it, right? So the more limited your buyer's options are, the better the chance that you can keep your price high. So we're going to see this downward pressure, but it is going to take some time.
Yeah, we've also got people in the chat saying that they've seen eBay prices go down, like eBay listings go down in price by the day over the last little bit. So that's pretty interesting.
Yep. You'll also see a lot of sellers that are going to try and pull their listings and not let them sell at a lower price to try to prop it up, try and make people think that there's still really high demand and not enough supply, but don't fall for it. Right now, today, it's probably the worst time to buy a GPU in the last 2 years. Because at least if you bought a GPU 6 months ago and you paid an obscene price for it, you could have been mining Ethereum on it overnight, like over the course of the winter, and made back a ton of that money, assuming you sold. Anyway, I'm just saying right now, when that GPU is it's kind of like buying a new car that's like, you know, it's about to suffer some kind of catastrophic recall or something that's going to tank its value. So when you drive off the lot, you don't lose 10%, you lose like 40% of its value. Don't buy a GPU today, especially not at scalper prices, because it's coming, guys. It's finally happening. So, okay, you know what? Anthony's got some really great notes in here. Apparently, the energy factor of cryptocurrency plays a larger role than I realized, and they are facing an energy crisis right now with ongoing rolling blackouts. Now, I did kind of roll my eyes when I talked about environmental concerns. I still am not convinced that they care that much about that, but I mean, not having people's houses and businesses have power, that's definitely a big problem.
Yes, for sure.
Chinese authorities are placing the blame primarily on exceptionally high demand as well as routine maintenance, and this tracks with the crackdowns There's apparently a coal shortage as well, combined with the reactivation of heavy industry as COVID recovery picks up speed. So it's seriously complicated the power situation. Likely they want to prioritize manufacturing over everything else, keeping Chinese manufacturers afloat. I could see that. And so that's pretty much it. I mean, it's all good news. Luke, can you think of anything negative about GPU pricing getting back to normal? I love it. I'm thrilled.
Not for us. Yeah, not for our section. If you were heavily invested, I could see this being a very frustrating time. But yeah,
you had to know it was going to come, though. Like, hopefully
there was a lot of writing on the wall. Yeah.
Well, there's writing on the wall.
Why do I feel like my
every
system's
time.
already old?
Crypto boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust. Now, here's the question for you, Luke, though. This is the big question. Actually, no.
Okay.
First, I just want to say I'm so glad that my crystal ball still works, because I got into an argument with someone in YouTube comments, which is a very stupid place to argue with people, because you'll find all sorts there, where they basically said, no, the crypto won't crash this time. GPU pricing is never getting better. And I'm like, please. It'll crash. It'll get better.
Yeah.
There you go. It is what it is. So I was right. My crystal ball still works, which is fantastic. Now, here's my question for you. Luke.
Yeah.
Do you buy the dip this time?
Personally, no.
For crypto?
Nope.
You're not going to buy any?
Not personally. Are you?
Man, it's tempting. It's tempting. Because there's this just amazing clear pattern of behavior.
Yes.
Boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust. I don't even know.
I see it too. I just I bought an apartment a few years ago, and I find it very satisfying to pay it off.
So you're going with the, you know what? As investments go, BC real estate ain't a bad one so far for you.
Yeah, and it's very like, it's also, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of like huge financial risk, as you probably know, and as the land show probably knows. So paying off the place you live in. Yeah. There you go. Paying off the place that you live in, especially in this climate, feels like a very like high return investment for one, and then for two, it feels good. It feels safe. My payments go down. Like if I have a bad month, which isn't really a thing that happens because I have stable, gainful employment. But if I was to, for some reason, it would be more comfortable, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
I wouldn't have to like sell off all these assets and stuff. I'm okay. I have my place. I've put a lot of money into it. I can pull money out of it. It's very stable, and I like it.
Got him.
But I could, if someone was to buy the dip, it would make a lot of sense to me. It's just not my play personally.
Not your jam. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
So the hookup just sent a message in the chat. Yo, man, it's a miracle I saw this thing, by the way. Said, did the shortage delay the production release of the next series? Will there be a 4080 before you can buy a 3080 at MSRP? It's a really good question, and it's one that people have been talking about a fair bit. Realistically, there's no way that the shortage delayed the R&D of the upcoming NVIDIA and AMD GPUs. I mean, that's something that is... NVIDIA and AMD, they're playing a game that is... It's on the order of years, not on the order of how consumers think. You know, I'm buying a PC in 2 months.
I didn't mean to quit.
As far forward thinking as most consumers are going to be, or they might think, okay, next generation consoles is sort of a best case scenario I could think of in terms of consumer planning. Next generation consoles are coming next year. I could see
in 1 to 2 years. Yeah.
Maybe I don't buy a whole bunch of games for my current gen console. Although in the case of Microsoft, I think they've done a pretty good job of forward and backward compatibility at the very least.
But maybe you don't get that like fancy new controller because there's going to be new controllers with the next console version or whatever else. You're not going to heavily invest in your current platform. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't see it affecting R&D. But we have seen in the past, we have seen it affect the release schedules for products. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Because if NVIDIA can get, if they're going to spend $1 billion or whatever, creating a next generation GPU architecture, if they can make back $4 billion instead of $3.5 billion, or whatever the numbers work out to be, if they can make another, $500 million on that investment, why wouldn't they if there's absolutely no competitive reason for them to release the next gen GPU? Now, there are still reasons to keep releasing GPUs when you have no competition. Otherwise, NVIDIA wouldn't have done it at all for quite a long period of time there. Because they really just didn't have any competition. But being able to resell to the same customer, I mean, that's what drove innovation in the computer space for so long. Being able to drive people on this, yearly or bi-yearly or tri-yearly upgrade cycle. I mean, that's why
basically no more than 3. There was even like fairly not super into tech families that I used to know that used to live on more or less a 3-year cycle. Every 3 years, they'd get a new family desktop.
Exactly.
That was like the thing.
So there's two kind of ways of looking at it. On the one hand, you want to reach as much saturation with each generation you invest in as possible to get the most out of that investment. But then number 2 is you don't want to wait so long that your loyal customers who come and buy from you with a regular cadence just go and buy a mountain bike instead, right? Because they're gonna, if they have that kind of disposable income, you want to capture it. And if you don't come out with something new, you're not going to capture it. So
wait, I lost?
Both of those are factors that they have to consider. So
okay.
I would say it could delay it. I would be surprised if it delays it more than 6 months to a year, though, because NVIDIA wants to take those customers that run out and buy a 3090 or 2 3090s. There's got to be a reason they kept SLI on that thing, right? Those customers who buy that thing, NVIDIA wants to sell them a 90 or 2 every time, Bring it on. Those are great customers from NVIDIA's perspective.
Yeah, I guess that's probably, I'm sure this term is used in more industries than the mobile gaming industry. I'm sure that's like NVIDIA's whales. Is
your
like
whales.
The people that buy like a 90 or 2 every generation.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to keep those whales happy, dude.
Yeah, it's a good island. It's a good island full of good people.
Yeah.
Got to keep whales happy. All right, so we got. Sorry, it's terrible. We're going to jump right into our next big topic here. U.S. President Joey B has signed is planning on directing the FTC to create new right-to-repair rules that are primarily aimed at allowing members of the agricultural industry to more effectively repair their own equipment on site. Now, this is one of those things where I feel like this is a good thing, and I want to applaud, but instead, I'm not going to applaud because
it's not enough.
I'm just going to withhold my boo because it is terrible that this took so long. It's terrible. Okay, I'm going to applaud a little.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm going to applaud a little.
Yeah.
This
you do have to cheer, especially with rotating leadership. You do have to cheer the eventual success of something. I totally do agree with you. We talked about the John Deere thing years ago on WAN show. This should have happened a very long time ago. The fact that you're not letting it seems like the farmers must be very, very high on the do-it-yourself chain. Not letting them fix something themselves seems ridiculous.
And
the fact that this took so long is crazy.
I mean, the fact that right to repair, like, this is something a lot of consumers, even ones who oppose right to repair, don't seem to understand. Or like maybe just nobody's ever explained it to them, or they just never really thought about it this way, is right to repair already exists and you already love it in the automotive industry. This legislation that forces automotive manufacturers to support their products for a certain amount of time, to create systems networks of parts supply to independent repair shops. This freaking legislation already exists, and it already is a pure benefit to consumers. It generates more competition, and it generates more consumer choice, lowering prices. That is what it's all about. And so people who, maybe it's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe for a lot of mainstream people, they look at electronics and they just go, oh, I don't know, it's a mysterious black mirror. How could we possibly expect an independent repair shop to repair this correctly? Well, if you don't provide any of the fucking diagnostic tools and any of the diagrams they need, you can't. It's not reasonable. But if you force them to do it like you do in the automotive industry, then you can expect them to repair it just fine. There's a lot of perfectly competent, very smart, steady-handed people that can absolutely repair just about anything about a cell phone other than a main board. Even some of them can do a bang-up job of repairing things on main boards if manufacturers weren't intentionally putting barriers in place. And so what I am hoping is that for those people that kind of see electronics as like this black box that consumers and independent repair shops shouldn't be able to touch, I'm hoping that this is a step in the right direction. It's mind-blowing to me that this took so long. We've already got this for cars. Why was tractors such a far step?
It feels like it would be the first one. It feels like it would come before cars, personally.
How did this happen? How is a car not just how is a tractor not just a big heavy duty car? Okay. All right. It's not. It's
a little more to it than that. But yeah, I hear you.
But you guys understand what I mean.
They often have like more accessible, like those I don't know, I don't want to get into this because I could be totally wrong, but I was going to say they often have more accessible engine compartments and stuff too that you would think are made that way so that they can be repaired more easily by the people using them. That always seemed true to me through observation. I could be completely wrong, but yeah, I don't know. It's the whole John Deere thing has seemed very weird to me the whole time. The only thing that makes me sad about this whole situation is that it says primarily aimed at allowing members of the agriculture industry to more effectively repair their own equipment on site. That's fantastic. But it says primarily aimed at that. Is it going to properly cover the rest? Probably not.
No,
that's concerning.
I'm hoping it's moving in the right direction.
Step in the right direction. Yes. I hear that. I just hope the next step doesn't take 5 years.
For those who aren't familiar with the John Deere situation, basically the equipment has been increasingly designed in such a way where many mechanical problems that used to be trivial to fix with tools and spare parts now require an authorized service technician and specialized software. And John Deere's justification for this is, well, it's so much more complex. This is the new era of agriculture and it's smart and no. You just want more money. Stop. Because there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't just create very cheap, effective programs to train small shops or to train individual farmers on how to do this stuff themselves.
Assuming that highly crafty farmers can't fix your more complex system is the wrong bet, and you're a jerk.
Have you seen some of the high-tech farming videos on YouTube?
They're crazy, actually. They're really
right.
Good on an interesting rabbit hole. They're really impressive,
right?
Yeah, and you know what? If they can't fix it, having a service that you can provide that can fix it for them, if they're not technically able, is great. Why not? Sure.
But that's exactly where antitrust and anti-monopoly laws come in, because you're not supposed to be able to lock out a competitor. You're supposed to have to provide that, or you don't have to provide a service to fix your tractors, I guess, but you should. And when you provide that service, you're not supposed to be able to take advantage of your position as a monopoly to push out any competition and jack up the prices. But that's what you're effectively doing if you're controlling your entire certification process and making it so that you're the only one who's allowed to touch it. So according to a Bloomberg report, the new set of rules that may be pushed is also expected to mention defense contractors and mobile phone manufacturers, and will be aimed at combating measures that companies like Apple and Microsoft have in place that actively work against consumer choice and repair. We don't have any guarantee of any of that yet. So the executive order is signed, but I believe it just directs the FTC to create new rules. It's really interesting to see that the FTC is taking a bit more of a transparent approach to things. It was fascinating reading the interviews about that entire process. They held their first open doors public meeting in decades or something like that. And some of the members were real upset about that. It's like, no, actually, consumers should know what the FTC is working on. It's like kind of the whole point. The executive order is designed to greater public. So, man, I'd love to see this. Just medicine would be another space where, like, the amount of waste, the amount of resource waste that ultimately gets passed along to the consumer, that goes on in medicine, especially in America, man. I feel for my American brothers out there, you guys. Like, imagine having a super expensive healthcare system, like, and still having to pay for it. Like, I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing to me. I remember, like, my first sort of, oh wow, I'm glad it's not like that here moment was my mom talking about a friend of hers from the States who had, like, her arm was like kind of bent at a weird angle, and my mom had known her for a while, and finally asked her. She went like, hey, what is up with that? And they kind of went, oh, well, I broke my arm when I was a kid and my family couldn't afford to get it set, and kind of like shrugged. And my mom was like, what? Are you kidding me? To be clear, our system, not perfect. Absolutely not perfect. But, I mean, the idea that, I actually had an acquaintance of mine whose daughter's child was born with some horrifying condition that involved, like, 3 surgeries, and now we're, knock on wood, because so far so good. Now we're back to normal.
Seriously?
Basically, they didn't pay a dime, and I was extremely proud of the taxes that I pay that made something like that happen. The idea of small children having broken arms that don't get put in casts is horrifying to me.
Yes.
So if that makes me a filthy commie, then you can color me red, baby. Color me red.
Well, the fact that you're thinking about your tax money went to that,
all right.
I don't know.
Let's talk about. You know what? Let's color me green first. Got to make that sponsor money somehow.
Nice. Very nice.
The show is brought to you today by Display Fusion. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Display Fusion is made by Binary Fortress and is a powerful multi-monitor tool that helps you maximize your productivity by making the most of your screen real estate. It uses powerful tools like triggers and macros to make your time online as easy as possible. And one of their coolest features is their multi-monitor tool taskbar. So the multi-monitor taskbar tool. The multi-monitor taskbar keeps your windows organized by adding a taskbar to each of your monitors. Cool, right? So it's easier to keep track of which apps are open on each monitor while also adding a start button and show desktop button to all the taskbars for quicker access. You can use the link below to get 30 days of Pro for free when you download on the Binary Fortress website. And the code is WANSHOW, which you can use to get 25% off a lifetime license until August 16th. Pretty freaking awesome. Lifetime licenses. They're not a thing anymore, except for Display Fusion. So go check that out. The show is also brought to you by Need for Seat. Good old Need for Seat. They're a dealer of Maxnomic gaming chairs, and every once in a while, Need for Seat's like, oh yeah, I don't know if advertising on Linus Tech Tips works that great. And then they always come back because, you know what, the truth is, it's just a great relationship. Other than that, they keep bailing on us. It's a great relationship because it's a great product. I love the Maxnomic chairs. I think they just use they use a way higher quality
Xbox
foam
controller,
than the vast majority of other gaming chairs. Just because they look gaming doesn't mean they can't use high quality materials. They've got a huge variety of sizes and selections. They're comfortable. They're, reliable is a good word to describe it. The Maxnomic chair that's in my office, actually, no, I lied a little bit because I have my water-cooled one now. But until Colin built me the water-cooled one, the Maxnomic chair in my office looked exactly like the day I got it, back when I did my first gaming chair review, which happened to be a Maxnomic, other than some blue stains on the top from the back of my jeans. They're just freaking awesome. They offer a custom embroidery service, 30-day return policy, 2-year warranty, and you can use code LTT to get $50 off for a limited time. Don't imagine that every gaming chair is equal. There are a lot of bad ones. There are a lot that are actual garbage.
How does he not get any damage?
Or manufactured garbage is what I like to call it. There's a lot of those. Maxnomic is not. All right, and it's also brought to you by Seasonic. Speaking of things that are not manufactured garbage, they got up to 12-year warranties, man. Seasonic, they're OG. I mean, you know how Corsair made their... Oh, Seasonic might get mad at me for mentioning this. You know what? I don't care. You know how Corsair made their name as a maker of quality power supplies? They rebranded a Seasonic power supply. Okay, that's literally exactly how it went down when they released the HX 620 and 520. That was like,
you know what? It's great. I had one. It was fantastic.
It was a great power supply because
still works actually. Still works. That was the one. I just want to add this context. That was the power supply that was ripped open and submerged in the mineral computer. Still works.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. So Seasonic, they make good. I don't know, Walter, are you watching? Is this a good sponsor read? Go buy a Seasonic power supply. They're quiet and okay. All right. Why don't we move on and get on with the show here?
All right.
Oh, we got to talk about Nintendo Switch Not Pro. Not Pro.
Yeah.
Now,
people are mad.
Some people are mad. You know what?
Pretty mad.
I got a hot take. So I want you to run us through the news, Luke, and then I'm gonna hit you with a mad hot take.
There was lots of rumors of a new Switch Pro. There was lots of rumors of different controller layouts, different controllers in general. I remember even reading one that was literally just about the kickstand.
Oh wait,
There's
Luke,
been
can I
lots
interrupt?
of
Can I interrupt for one second? Oh
sure.
wait, actually, no, never mind. I'm not going to mention it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that.
Okay. There's been better, more advanced Tegra processors. There's been higher resolutions. There's been a dock that increases the performance of the Switch. There's been lots and lots and lots of rumors. What we got is pretty much the same thing, but with a better screen. No controller changes, no performance changes. MSRP of $350. Yeah, that's it.
Coming in October.
Not really a Switch Pro, but yeah, available in October. You get a better screen.
There's more.
Okay. I actually didn't know this part.
Oh,
the
I
new
hate
dock
this
does
character
have an
too.
Ethernet port for LAN. All right. That sounds fine, I guess. I don't know. I didn't find the wireless to be a problem, but I'm not going to say no.
Hey, when you're downloading big games, it's if you want to play right now.
Yeah,
like I bought a USB dongle for mine. It's wired. I just, whatever.
Yeah,
wireless basically, right?
Yeah.
So.
Standard Switch fits the new dock just fine, which means the new dock is going to be a separate accessory as well, almost certainly. And you could buy that if you wanted to for some reason. I bought a custom dock for mine because it was very cheap. That is just small and has basically no vertical height, so that it doesn't scratch the screen and stuff, which is cool. Other improvements include an adjustable stand, enhanced audio, more storage, and it comes in white, up from 32 gigs to 64 gigs. Enhanced audio is very light on details, so I have to wait and see how that pans out. The same Joy-Cons are being used. I think this is the main complaint. As far as I can tell, most of the frustration comes from the same Joy-Cons being used. You can still get them fixed by Nintendo, but I mean, it's pretty frustrating having your Joy-Con drift super rough and then needing to ship off one of your controllers and not really be able to play without buying another really expensive controller. There's a note saying the Switch Pro might still be happening later. I suspect it is. Nintendo is a huge fan of many incremental little improvements, especially when they have something that's working. And the Switch is definitely working. And while people have been super excited about the Switch Pro, I haven't heard a ton of people talking about man, I wish my Switch was twice as powerful, bro. Or necessarily even complaining about the resolution. The resolution is really low. Sure. But I personally haven't heard a ton of complaints about the resolution on the Switch. Those just aren't the core complaints that I find the core audience of Nintendo users have. So it's interesting. That being said, personally, still excited for a Switch Pro, and I would love those things. But yeah, I think they are probably catering to the majority of their audience by fixing the screen, which is a very noticeable thing on the Switch, and not fixing pretty much anything else, and thus keeping their profits very high, which is something that Nintendo is an extreme fan of. But yeah, what's your take?
My hot take? I love it. I'm going to buy one on launch day.
Really?
Yep. when I had my wisdom teeth pulled out, that was when I finally caved and bought a Switch because I knew that I was going to be stuck in bed with nothing to do for like 2 days. I had it was the bottom ones out. It was like my dentist told me, like, look, you're not doing anything, dude. This is going to be pretty rough. You had to really get in there. And so I finally caved. I finally bought a Switch when I knew I was going to be stuck on my back for 2 days. I pulled it out of the box and I went, wow, this screen looks like dog. Even back then, it sucked. Never mind OLED. It's a bad LCD. There's a huge air gap, which is sloppy, cheap garbage even back then. Because you guys got to remember, you could get replacement screens for like a Nexus 7 tablet, you know, pretty nice IPS display. That's like 10 years ago. You could get them for like $20, right? Like the fact that Nintendo on this $400 Canadian console had this garbage tier screen was always completely unacceptable to me. And it's really the only problem that I've actually no, the on the plane the kickstand was a real problem for me as well. Those are the only two problems I have ever had with my Switch. I've had absolutely no Joy-Con drift, although I am pretty careful with them. And I'm not a super heavy player, so that's something to note. A little bit more storage is like, yeah, sure. I mean, the $50 price hike.
Yeah, I mean, SD card.
For more storage is not that different from what you'd get on like a phone or whatever. So you could just consider this a 64 gig Switch as far as I'm concerned. And then getting a larger OLED display is like, man, I'm on that so fast. So fast. I've seen a lot of people upset with my take because I did post this on Twitter as a response to Anthony's tweet. I've seen a lot of people upset with me because I don't seem to care about the performance aspect of it. You know what? I don't actually. And here, okay.
And I would heavily argue that the majority of Nintendo's audience does not either.
And here's another kind of hot take. I consider the fact that Nintendo has maintained continuity here with the same Tegra processor. I actually think that's a good thing, because what it means for people who are performance gaming enthusiasts who want to game at 60 FPS or higher is that we're going to get even a larger catalog of Switch games to enjoy on Switch emulators. To upscale those games, run at higher refresh rates. So if you're an actual PC enthusiast, you should give exactly zero about any of this and just go, okay, well, great. This means a deeper catalog of Switch games. We don't have to completely redesign the emulators that have already been in progress for 4 years to accommodate all these new games that might have needed a ton of work if it was a Tegra Pro, whatever. I don't know. I guess we'll find.
It probably would have.
Probably would have required a bunch more work.
What do you still play on Switch?
Most recently, I played through Bravely Default 2. It's not a very good game, but
I was gonna say, I didn't think you even liked it.
I didn't really. I did end up grinding my way to the end, though. I finished it last week, or earlier this week. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a very good game.
But you are still actively using your Switch. Is effectively what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'll probably play Breath of the Wild too. So that's
you said you weren't.
I know, but I lied. I'm gonna buy it.
I thought so too.
I didn't play the DLC.
Wait, is that the same one I already played?
I often don't play DLCs.
Yeah.
If
Why
DLCs
is everybody so against DLCs?
Like
I don't understand.
Because
I'm like new to the game, I guess maybe.
These days, when they're often like, oh, it's like a 1 to 3 hour at a maximum if it's a large DLC adventure that you can go on. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have to like remember how to play this game that I haven't played in half a year.
Is it that hard?
Just to do this like one mission, and the story probably felt concluded, and now it's just
those
weird.
are like the gamers that are like,
this is great.
bad.
Mario Madness says Mario Golf recently. Yeah, apparently that's really good. I think I might pick it up. So yeah, there you go. I just I would Mott says Breath of the Wild had leg spikes. Absolutely it did. It doesn't run perfectly. I don't know. Maybe I'm just over it. Maybe I just got over it. I just don't care anymore. So
yeah, and like I said multiple times,
before.
I would like a higher performance Switch. I would like a baller Switch Pro. I think that would be very cool. think I'm not the majority of the Nintendo audience.
Well, they kind of did that once.
You have to keep that in perspective.
They basically made that product once. It's called the Wii U. It was a Wii on steroids that got new games.
Bitch.
Yeah.
It didn't work. No one cared.
Yeah. Nope. I think there was other reasons why people didn't care.
Oh yeah, I know. The marketing for it was terrible. There were a lot of reasons the Wii U was a failure. But my point is, if I'm Nintendo, that strat of the same thing but like more powerful.
Who cares?
They've always
they have to understand that they're
by not doing
I think and I think the Nintendo audience, like a lot of the games that they like are not super performance heavy, and it takes artistic styles that look often quite beautiful in ways, but aren't super performance heavy because they're not going for realism. So they just need like a really nice screen, and it's fine.
Yep. I'm so excited for the OLED screen. And you know what's great is because I have I have a launch Switch, I can probably get a pretty decent price for it because it should be hackable or whatever.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think I have an exploitable Switch, so I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna buy the new Switch OLED, and I'm going to just pay for all my games, and everything will be good. I'm excited.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
This is pretty. Oh, you know what, man? We should have transitioned into this topic from the right to repair executive order. Google's Play Store is under fire because I was explaining the difference between. Man, I ended up in a really stupid argument on Twitter over this one as well. People just don't seem to fundamentally not people. Some of you, like, if you understand what it is, don't take offense, you guys. But you can't deny that there are a lot of people out there who don't fundamentally understand what anti-monopoly and antitrust laws are and why they exist and how they are there for your protection as a consumer. Google's response to this antitrust lawsuit that's being brought about by 36 states' attorneys general is hilarious, and it kind of says everything you need to know about the new non-don't be evil era Google. In a blog post responding to the lawsuit, Google says, "It's strange that a group of state attorneys general chose to file a lawsuit attacking a system that provides more openness and choice than others. This complaint mimics a similarly meritless lawsuit filed by the large app developer Epic Games, which has benefited from Android's openness by distributing its Fortnite app outside of Google Play." Okay. So the fact that you're more open and provide more choice than Apple
Did I beat him last time?
is
I don't
a low
remember.
bar.
It's not a major accomplishment.
That is not.
No one is applauding you.
That is not the stick that you need to be measured by. So let's go through what's happening here. In a lawsuit filed in California court on Wednesday, 36 states and Washington, D.C. challenged Google's Play Store policy, forcing developers to pay a 30% commission fee on sales made in their apps. So this mirrors the Epic v. Apple, and with less notoriety, the Epic v. Google lawsuits. This is the fourth antitrust lawsuit launched against the company by U.S. government enforcers in the last year. It's about freaking time. The lawsuit alleges that Google forced anti-competitive strategies on Samsung, attempting to buy off the company to limit competition from the Samsung Galaxy App Store. So they, like turning the Galaxy Store into a white label for the Google Play Store, sharing the back end and billing, keeping a different face. Okay, that's not what Samsung wanted. They wanted to maintain their independence from you, which is exactly what antitrust laws are supposed to allow them to do. They also allege that Android is now open source in name only. This is on account of the fact that the Google certified version runs on over 99% of smartphones with licensed mobile OSs. So if it's a Google certified version that is not all open source, then you can't just say Android's open source. It's not that simple. And tech enthusiasts have known that for a long time. There's a big difference between AOSP and the Android that you run on your smartphone. A new Google policy, it also alleges a new Google policy will require developers of streaming services to pay Google 30% on subscriptions purchased through the app if they want to make that available, or that they be streaming only with no reference to where a user can sign up. Now, as you can imagine, Luke and I have some personal experience with what that's like for an app developer. You know what? Google and Apple should absolutely be allowed to provide a payment portal. They should absolutely be allowed to help app developers with their payment processing. But by making it 30% and by not allowing you to use anything else, they are effectively...
It's mostly the not allowing you to use anything else and not allowing you to have that one cost more. Because if we could just price adjust it, like if paying through the Google Play Store was just exactly the difference of cost to us for the payment processing, then sure, of course, why not? If you would prefer to pay that way, if it's easier for you, the cost is low enough that you don't really care, great. Doesn't matter to me. But when it costs us more and we're trying to like divvy out to creators and do all this other kind of stuff, in a lot of situations, it makes it like the Apple one made it a literal 0-cent transaction. Like we made nothing. And that just doesn't make any sense at all, and is so frustrating. And one of these things, like they mention a streaming only app, right? Like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. We could have a plain viewer app. You can't subscribe through it or whatever on the store. Like, okay, I can kind of understand that, except that's not all that it is. They don't let you contact support properly through the app because they don't, and they don't allow you to have FAQs and all this other kind of stuff, or at least that's how it was on the Apple side of things. Apple's been changing things. I might not be 100% on top of it right now, but they don't let you do those things because you could include references to a way to subscribe through those things. Like if you linked to an FAQ that was on your website, or if you did anything like that, if you linked them out of that app at all to any other resources that could potentially suggest subscribing in a different way, even if it doesn't, that's against the rules. So it ends up being extremely anti-user and anti-consumer to the point where as a app developer, you don't even want to do it at all because it's just so frustrating for the user experience. And you end up getting tons of usually tweets complaining about it because they can't figure out how to officially contact your support because you're not allowed to link it properly. And that's just bonkers. I don't know.
So someone on Twitter said, well, I mean, is this really abusing consumers? Maybe if Netflix decided to dump the extra cost incurred by Google's processing fee on the consumer, it would, but I doubt they'll do that. I read this tweet and my palm just about traveled all the way through my face, grabbed my brain, went out the back of my head, and flushed my brain down the toilet. What could possibly possess you to think that Netflix will not pass this cost along to the consumer?
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
He barely won.
You know, and then someone else said, so what? So every store is antitrust? There's nothing unfair about what Apple or Google are doing. You can subscribe to these services via the web, then download the app and log in. All they're stopping you from doing is advertising that fact via the Play and App stores, like every shop. Okay, so the difference is that they are monopolies. Okay, they're a duopoly. Fine, whatever. You wanna sort of split hairs like that, we can. The fact that they are a monopoly means that they are not allowed to behave this way. If there was an actual competitive ecosystem for mobile devices or for app stores, remember, that's what Epic Games is arguing, that there should be a competitive ecosystem for alternate app stores, which would force Apple and Google to respond to complaints that their fees are too high and be competitive with other app stores, blah, blah, blah. That's like the whole thing. The fact that they are a monopoly is what makes the behavior bad. If they weren't a monopoly, then it would be fine. So that's why Epic is making that argument. To be clear, Epic is not some kind of noble, just doer of good deeds. They absolutely are out to make money. But they're also not wrong. The fact that they're out to make money does not make their point invalid. The lawsuit also alleges that Google requires OEMs to pre-install a suite of Google proprietary apps and make it impossible to delete or remove many of them. Also, that they provide preferential placement on devices' home screens. So in 2009, Google required pre-installation of as many as a dozen apps. By 2013, it was 2 dozen, and now it is up to 30 apps. And you know what? The reality of it is, most Google apps I wouldn't actually want to remove from my phone. I mean, I love Google Maps, I love Gmail. But what if I didn't?
Yeah.
It is anti-consumer for me to not be able to remove crap I don't use from my device.
Extremely.
And you can make your product competitive.
Wait,
I love Google
like
Maps,
screen froze.
and I'm going to keep using it. That's fine. But
how would you feel if McAfee antivirus, RIP, was pre-installed on your computer and you couldn't remove it?
If
the McAfee antivirus removal tool does not exist anymore, and it is a permanent feature on your computer.
If McAfee antivirus tool is great and I want to use it anyway, then I'm perfectly happy. If it's not, because McAfee...
Even if it was the best option around, I would want the possibility to remove it for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was answering as like a general consumer. So I'm looking at this from sort of like the bigger picture. As long as it's great, you don't really run into problems. But what happens is when a monopoly uses its position as a monopoly to just have their product be the default, regardless of how good or bad it is, it tends to degrade in quality.
Here's the cheater kick there.
So eventually, even though you might not feel like this is a problem today because you love Gmail and you love Google Maps or whatever else, eventually, if Google behaves this way and stifles competition on its platform, it will be a problem. Yeah, Google's response is typical, just, honestly, it's kind of evil. They're just pretending they don't even see the problem.
Ridiculous.
They absolutely see the problem. Everything they did here was absolutely intentional, and they fully understand what they're doing. And I hope that the United States government finally starts doing something about antitrust. I mean, it is hilarious to look at this stuff and compare it to how Microsoft was treated over Internet Explorer. Like, what? If I'm Microsoft, I would be outraged that Google and Apple get away with what they do. What? Because they're like cooler or something? I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Yeah, everybody's just numb to it. I think the government, and we've talked about this a bunch, I think the government got gun shy after Microsoft.
Miera TV says the US won't do anything because most of their money comes from those companies. No, it doesn't. You know that there's a whole other thing where they don't pay any tax and stuff, right? they don't. Now, indirectly, sure, they employ a lot of people and create a lot of money moving around for the economy. Absolutely, for sure. But it's not like they're going to stop doing that all of a sudden because the U.S. government steps in and starts actually enforcing their antitrust and anti-monopoly laws. Kasama says, I paid more taxes than Amazon. And they're a Twitch viewer, scrub. So, like, it can't be a lot of money. No offense, no offense. I love our viewers on Twitch. It's just that I love the float plane and YouTube ones more. Especially float plane.
Hey.
Okay, all right. So this is funny. They pay, so float plane is clarifying. Well, okay, but they do pay money to politicians and pay for their campaign ads.
Hey,
yes, that. Okay, I thought you meant
true.
actually funding, like, the government. Metal Gabby says, yeah.
People in Flowplane keep on saying that there's going to be a $20 super chat if I say it's Luke time. So I just said it. Now you have to pay $20 super chat. So there we go. Cool. Very nice.
You know that I take the money, right?
Yeah.
No, I know you know. I've just, I hope they know. I hope they understand that.
Got him.
Okay, yeah, Luke gets paid the same regardless. You get to see his pretty face no matter how many super chats you send him. Or however many you don't. Luke will still be employed.
Nice. By the way, spend that $20 on LTT Store.
Yeah, we've got a deal right now.
Get something for yourself.
If you buy a classic 21-ounce orange LTT bottle, you get a keyboard shirt for free. The discount gets applied when you add both to the cart. So head on over there, lttstore.com, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a genuinely wicked offer.
It is a wicked offer. It's almost like there might be a next generation water bottle coming at some point. And also, like, the keyboard
That makes
shirt.
sense.
The keyboard shirt hasn't sold particularly well. It's almost like we're doing that thing I said earlier, where instead of discounting the product, we're offering a bundle deal. Remember that thing I talked about? It's almost like I have a background in product management and merchandising.
I'm surprised the keyboard shirt isn't selling well. I thought they were pretty awesome.
It did okay. It did okay, but there's some colors that
that totally makes sense.
Particularly
popular.
popular.
Yeah.
See, we thought people were gonna buy more along the lines of like repping their color of Switch they like, instead of just designing colors that look nice. And everyone just bought designs that look nice. So we completely overstocked on popular Switches, and yeah.
Okay,
So that's a thing. In other news, oh yeah, this is some dystopian level stuff. I mean, it never surprises me coming out of China, but like, basically they're using facial recognition on cameras on devices to control kids gaming in China. So maximum of 90 minutes of gaming on weekdays and a maximum of 3 hours of gaming on weekends. And there are spending limits in games, in my opinion. That's like a good thing, but it should just be everyone, not just kids. Or there should be, I mean, you know what? I don't have the answer to that industry. I don't actually know. No, you should be able to buy as much stuff as you want if you really want to. Freedom, etc. But there's got to be a way to...
there should just be better parental controls, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know. Okay, because like you look at something like the lotto industry, right? They have regulations. Yeah. Gambling has regulations, so it should be regulated. I just don't have the right answers, and I'm not an expert in that field. But basically, you're...
Oh, right. Because, sorry, I don't buy these things, so I sometimes forget they kind of exist. I guess the spending money on games, they're talking about loot boxes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I would be completely fine personally, and maybe some people will hate me for this, but yeah, just call it gambling and don't allow minors to do it at all. I don't care about spending limits, just ban it. It's gambling. It is. Like, you want something generally. Most games that have them, you're not allowed to buy something specifically. Some games, yes, but a lot of games that have them, you have to buy the loot boxes and hope, and that's gambling. Yeah, anyways.
Alex put in here, Linus, as a parent, would you want to have your kids' gaming time limited like this? Well, I don't understand why it needs to be facial recognition. And the problem here is that the state is stepping in and that it's not a parent controlling it. Like, I do have screen time limits on my kids' devices, absolutely. But I don't need facial recognition because they're my children and I know where they are and what they're doing because they're my freaking kids. Then I'm able to make that decision. If I decide, you know what, great job,
whatever,
winning your badminton tournament. You got a ton of exercise this weekend because you played a tournament. You can play video games for however long today. Like,
you can relax on Sunday or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Like, that's my decision. And the state stepping in and making it...
Why can I never do this when I'm in a fight with somebody?
I agree with limiting kids' exposure to this stuff, but I don't agree with my government coming in and telling me how to do it. With that said, it's clear that they have a problem in China with parents not enforcing screen time limits because gaming addiction appears to be a bit of an epidemic over there. With that said...
Is it more than it is here? Do we know that?
I don't know if we know that for sure, but we do know that culturally very, very, very long periods of time spent gaming has been more of a norm in Asia for longer than it has been here. That we do know. So what we know is that there is at least this perception that it is not being taken care of by the parents, and you could point at all kinds of reasons for that.
Look at this character.
I mean, part of the problem might be the what is it called? The 996, I want to say. The 996 working hour system is blah, 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 work schedule. So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week is the 996 working hour system in China. There's a lot of people there opposing it because it's like a very excessive work culture. But I would imagine that in a culture like that, if both parents are working, you might actually end up out of necessity having your kids entertained by electronic devices a lot because you're not able to actually be there spending time with them, playing non-electronic games with them. Like there's 1,000, and I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm just saying there's 1,000 reasons that it could be a problem. So I don't have the solutions, but for my sensibilities, the government stepping in and enforcing how often and how long my kids can use electronic devices sure as heck isn't it. So yeah, that's tough, eh?
996 sounds horrible.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Especially considering commutes.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember too, different work
how'd they do
culture.
that?
Like when we went and visited OnePlus's factory, there were dorms like on site, so that you can 996 your way to the top.
That would make a little bit more sense, probably, to be honest.
Yep.
Just because, like, certain commutes, like, I mean, where we're from, it's not even that uncommon to have an hour-long commute. If you add 2 hours on top of that, that's 11 hours
Capcom
a day.
2018, what does that mean? They want to...
That's not 11 hours, 14 hours a day. Big yikes.
Yep. So, got people saying very easy for people not living in a culture to criticize how another culture operates. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying that could be one of the reasons that the government is stepping in to take care of this, because people are literally not there to take care of it themselves. There you go. What else we got here? Yes, my new house challenges. There have been some challenges. So I actually shot a video there today, kind of walking through some of this stuff. So you guys are getting an early preview of some of this stuff. But basically what I'm realizing is that as we go through and renovate some stuff, this is going to be my only opportunity with some of the drywall pulled off to run any cabling through the walls and through the floors that I want. So while I'm not a big smart home kind of guy, I've definitely done more research on it lately, and I've found that there's some things that could probably make me more of a smart home guy. Like, for example, if I change out all my light switches now, I found a GE one that is both a light switch and a motion sensor, and I tie all of it into Home Assistant along with a per zone HVAC system, I could make it so that in the summer, my air conditioning only turns on in rooms that are occupied. That's pretty cool. I could totally get into something like that. Like, if my kids are dum-dums and leave their air conditioning on, why am I air conditioning their bedroom for, 8 hours, 9 hours while they're at school and their, lessons or whatever else? That's ridiculous. It's totally stupid. And so I'm kind of looking at it going, oh,
got him.
So maybe I do want to do some of this stuff. This is also my only opportunity to figure out, okay, where are my Wi-Fi access points going? Do I want to do access control? Where are security cameras going? So one of the big challenges that I've run into is that the heating is handled by a 10-zone water boiler system. So it's called a hydronic system. So there's water running through the floors that's heated, and then the heat just radiates off the floors and heats the entire house that way. It's super cool. It's super efficient. The problem is
why can't I ever do this while I'm playing?
Thermostats, each of which only has 2 wires going to them, which are a very basic, literal, actual mercury in a tube that literally actually rolls from one side of the tube to the other side of the tube to open or close a switch. To call for heating or cooling to that zone.
Here we go,
if I wanted
another
to install
cheater
some kind of smart
character.
thermostat in there that would have the capability to also communicate with an AC system,
Ridiculous.
and maybe even, smart controlled dampers, so you could put different zones on your AC system.
What does LP
I would have to
mean?
run 10 thermostats worth of wiring through the walls, or I'd have to find a thermostat that is a smart thermostat that can just take power off of those lines and do all of its communication via Zigbee or Z-Wave back to a hub, back to Home Assistant, and then communicate with the smart valves on the boiler system, and then with the AC, as well as with the smart dampers in the ducts for the AC system, and all this stuff. And I'm just, dude, I am so overwhelmed. I am completely out of my depth.
People are asking if Brian the electrician is going to make a appearance again.
Oh, I'm sure Brian will end up here at some point or another, but we're actually having most of this done just with like a single point of contact contractor because there's a ton of stuff that we're doing at the new place.
Yeah, you're doing lots of different things. That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's going to definitely be some Brian the electrician stuff because one of the things I've asked the general contractor to arrange is water cooling tubes that go from the mechanical room to outside the house. Can you think
Got
of what I
him.
might do with those?
No way.
Whole home rack water cooling. I'm totally going to do it. I'm going to do it right this time though.
Outside the house, are you geothermaling?
So if we were changing the landscaping in the front yard, I would totally bury a coil, and I would totally do that. But no, I'm probably just gonna do it kind of like we did at the Langley office, and yeah,
just not mixed metals this time, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't mixed metal. Oh yeah, it was mixed metals. That was the problem. Yes. No stainless steel. It should have been fine if that stupid thing from Princess Auto was actually stainless steel, but it wasn't. So I'm gonna do that. I want to do a like a heat recovery system on the server room as well, because not everything will be water cooled. Like I'm not gonna water cool a network switch or whatever. So I want to create like a smart damper on like a duct from that room that can either kick the heat outside or like just chuck the heat into the basement in the winter.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
I want to do like what else is there? No. What's some of
have
the
you figured out how many computers you can fit in that area?
The LAN room downstairs.
Yeah,
we're gonna do 5 and then a smaller station for like a laptop, so we could do up to 6 in there.
We've got to have like probably next summer, but you've got to have like a barbecue pool day that ends in a LAN night.
I'm super down. We'll do it. I promise.
That'd just be so cool. That'd be so cool.
100%.
Oh man.
And we'd have.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we're gonna have there'll be PCs in the theater room, the rec room, the family room. There will be 2 in the office, mine and Yvonne's desktops, and then there will be 5 ones in the LAN room. Is it a little overkill? Absolutely. But it also might not end up being quite that overkill.
So awesome.
So one of the overkill things I'm doing is I'm running conduit to almost all of those places. So instead of me having a computer in the office upstairs and a computer in the LAN room, I could have one computer in the server rack, and then I could just run fiber optic DisplayPort and fiber optic USB to both of those places, clone the display, and just sit down and use my computer at either of them completely interchangeably.
Really
that would be pretty cool.
Really, really cool.
Another thing I could do is instead of putting the 5 computers in the LAN center there, I could put a single virtualized computer, really get hardware that actually does it perfectly. Like every time I've done a 2 gamers 1 CPU or whatever, it's been a tech demo. I've never actually made it perfect. But if I could get exactly the hardware that exactly works perfectly, I could do a for realsies whole LAN center 1 CPU gaming setup. And now that they have 64 core CPUs, I mean, every one of those machines could have like 10 cores in it. That's crazy. 12. That's ridiculous.
That's
and
awesome.
I'd have 4 left over for Plex transcoding or whatever. So the more I poke around in this house and play around with the wiring, the more excited I am to do kind of crazy stuff. I talked to a solar roofing installation company today, and I was like, so I couldn't help noticing that photovoltaic cells operate more efficiently when they're cool. Have you guys ever done an installation where you like run cold water up to the roof and then dissipate the excess heat into like a pool or something? They're like, no. I'm like, oh, neat. Good to know. So I guess we'd have to forge our own path there, but wouldn't that be super cool?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, all of this sounds fantastic. Yeah, very cool.
So I guess I'll need a pool then
sick.
if I'm going to do that, but
of course.
That would be super fun.
Why can't I do that in the game?
Great. Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited. It's going to be freaking awesome. I also found this super cool thing that runs on the hot side of your air conditioner. So on the condenser side of your air conditioner, it intercepts the refrigerant, runs it through a heat exchanger, and then dumps the heat into your pool. So you can basically heat your pool with your AC and not pay to heat your pool.
That's awesome.
I was like,
That's pretty cool.
wow,
I've never heard of that.
Because having a heated pool is sweet, but paying for a heated pool is not sweet.
Not sweet. Not cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, so
Which
great.
is why, like, a lot of people's, just for, I'm sure Linus knows, but just for some context for people that don't know, a lot of people's home pools are not heated because it's not cheap. It's, heating that massive body of water when it's not already like really hot out, and honestly, even when it is pretty hot, can be difficult and expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Jamal Taylor says water cooled solar GTFO lol.
It's awesome.
I think it would be pretty cool to do. So right. So but as we get into ideas like that, I'm sitting here going, okay, well now I need a solar system that can be, piped into Home Assistant so that I can actually monitor whether it's actually more efficient once we water cool it and blah, 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 blah. So I don't know, man. It's exciting. Theorica says offsetting the cost of a heated pool. The cost of running AC is still a lot. Yeah, but you'd be running it anyway. That's the whole idea, is that when the AC is running, it's heating the pool instead of heating the air around your house.
You're harnessing previously wasted energy, essentially. It's still energy. It's still there. You're just not wasting it.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to be pumping your AC harder just so you can heat up your pool. That sounds a little ridiculous, but you're utilizing it instead.
All right. So yeah, let me just see if there's any other sort of challenges that we've run into. I mean, honestly, just making all these decisions now, it's like terrifying because once we close the drywall back up, that's it. Everywhere I ran conduit, that's where there's conduit. And there's stuff that I, fundamentally sort of 1,000-foot view understand. Like you guys got to realize, like, I'm a generalist, right? Like I will sometimes go and I know enough to learn. So I'll go and I'll learn a bunch about something and I will deploy it or I'll make my video about it and then I'll probably forget 70% of it because I'll move on to like the next thing that I got to learn about and I got to explain to y'all. So I know enough about things like home theater to know how to research it. But when I'm trying to do all this stuff at once, figuring out where all the conduit's going to run, figuring out solar, figuring out just general homeowner stuff like the new roofing, figuring out the water boiler, figuring out the AC, learning Home Assistant, blah, blah, blah. When I'm doing all this stuff at the same time, man, my brain has just hurt this entire week, even though I've been on vacation. I gotta go research cell repeaters again because I did all the research for that back when we put one in the office, but presumably it's changed a little bit in the last 6 years. So I got to go do that research again.
So.
Yeah, I've got like one bar on the main floor and basically no reception in the basement. It's like, no, okay,
that's
we're
pretty annoying.
Let's get a cell repeater. So I'm finding it pretty overwhelming to figure out all these things at once. Like home theater, another example. Fundamentally, I understand the basics. You want a projector, you want it a certain distance away because you can only zoom so much unless you get one with interchangeable lenses, but then you're spending a bunch of money. You want a screen. Do you want an ambient light projecting one? Probably not. It should be fine. So then maybe we can get a dark one because we've got light control of the room. And okay, we might as well wire up for Atmos, even if we're not going to go, 8.2.2 or whatever. You're going to want to figure out, do you want a rack for all your AV equipment? Do you want to not have a rack? Do I want to run a conduit over to the mechanical room and just have everything tucked away? Do we have a way to control turning things on and off from there? Okay, now I've got to learn more about, what is it called, CEC? So now that Harmony's not a thing, otherwise I would have used IR repeaters. So it's like I know a little bit about this stuff, but getting down into the nitty-gritty details of like, what part number do I order though? And exactly where is it going to mount on the wall? I wish I didn't have to do it all at once. But the idea of doing it all at once is that you open up all the walls,
that way.
Get it all done, close up all the walls, and then you can move in and like actually live in your house. That's kind of the idea. Vanilla Donut says, if you're going to make videos of the reno, why not let your employees help you in the research? I absolutely could, but part of the problem is that if I want all these systems to interact with each other, like if I want my water-cooled solar panels on my roof and my water-cooled condenser unit on my AC and my pool filtration and pump and heating system to all interact with each other, one person has to be in charge of figuring that out. Alert says, just Netflix and chill with the laptop in bed. Like, you know what? Probably not wrong. Probably not wrong. Money Mirror says, you need to shut your head down for a little and actually relax. Right, but okay, the problem is that if I relax and then I end up like wasting, $10,000, like this is a home renovation, right? The budget is not, we're not talking like, oh, I got to choose between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One Series X. Like if I could flip the one that I didn't end up liking on Craigslist and buy the other one. Like, it's not a huge loss. They both plug into an HDMI cable. Like if I screw this up, it could be a big problem. I need to water cool my brain. Thanks, Aurelius, for the for the suggestion. Yeah, get right on that.
Oh, next summer that could be a fun project, like a portable head cooler.
Here's
like a hat that you wear.
Here's my master plan for the cooling system. Here we go. I drew it up in MS Paint. So you got your air conditioner evap. So the cool air goes to a smart damper for airflow control. So those go to each room or zone. And then you've got your water boiler. So hot water to the floor. You got smart temperature sensors and smart valves for flow control. Okay. And then I've only got 2 wires. So I put in a low voltage power source in the mechanical room, and then I want a thermostat that communicates wirelessly with the smart valve, the smart damper, and Zigbee or Z-Wave hub that goes to a server running Home Assistant. This is my ideal world. The problem is that while sort of conceptually that works, finding the actual part numbers, very difficult. And while it's very easy to find an automation expert to come in and do everything for you, every automation expert is trying to sell you their thing. And if there's anything I've learned over the last little while working on this project, it's that there are more home automation companies than there probably are home automation deployments, okay? There are so many companies. I find out about a dozen more I've never heard of every day that I'm working on this. And I'm sitting here going, I have never even set foot in a house or boat that is automated in any way. Who is actually, how all these companies exist? All with their own ecosystems that don't interact with each other.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. So I don't want a closed system that I'm stuck with. Like there's a really cool one that I posted about in a YouTube community post. I forget what it's called now. Your channel. Why is it so hard to get to my own community post? There's no back-end tool for it. You just have to go to the public. So stupid. Lockzone looks super cool, super proprietary. So if Lockzone for whatever reason doesn't exist anymore, that's it. I have a whole bunch of Lockzone crap that is now e-waste. Thanks for that. And someone was being very sort of critical of me, saying, well, what are you new to tech? You expect it to be around for 10 or 20 years? Yes. This is not a cell phone. This is a house. Yes, I expect it to exist for 10 or 20 years. And if it doesn't exist, I expect it to be an open ecosystem so I can just swap out the one that doesn't exist anymore for something that does exist and have it interact with the other stuff. Yes, I do expect that. That is not unreasonable. And if we have gotten ourselves to the point where we think that that's unreasonable, then we got to take a step back and evaluate, people. That is not reasonable. Open ecosystems are what we should be supporting for this stuff, not things that only communicate with each other on their own closed protocol. So there you go.
Problems I don't have. My place is small enough that I feel like any amount of automation would be pretty much wasted and useless. And I'm completely fine with that.
Well, no, there's things that could be very helpful. Like if you were out for the day and it became very sunny, your blinds could close. Be like, hey, we don't want it to be so hot in here. Thanks. That
True.
would be useful. So
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I don't think I'm going to bother do that, but yeah.
yeah. I76969X says, Pro Automator here. We're busy AF. These homes definitely do exist. All right, fair enough. Also, a note on C4, Crestron, closed systems. They're great for our customers because they're super reliable. And while expensive, I don't have to worry about them disappearing. Also, the customers that use them don't want to tinker. They just want us to make their system work. Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But what I want to do is I want to tinker with it, right? So there you go. Is what it is. Benja Martin says, I learned the hard way that having easily replaceable cables in the wall can prevent a lot of headaches. It's like, yeah, in theory, yes, but then I'm running a whole bunch of conduit now when I don't necessarily need that. I have wiring in the walls now. I just want to use smart devices to find a way to use them. Civilin says, you should look at ceramic window tint for that heat problem. Okay, so there you go. There's a tip for you, Luke. Anyway, we've got some super chats to get through here, so why don't we do that unless we've got anything else that's a huge topic. Nah, it doesn't really look like it.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, a lot of people sent super chats today. Guys, we don't really do super chats.
LTT store.
Yeah.
Slowplane.com.
Yeah, those are good ways to support. Okay. Lewis says, when are the mouse pads coming back? You guys mentioned them, and I got excited for nothing. They're coming back as soon as they arrive. Right now, global shipping is a cluster. So they should have been here already, but they're not. So I don't want to promise anything. Mal says, with the coal shortage thing, that's because of China's trade war with Australia and them deliberately not importing Australian coal, even though there's thousands of tons of it docked in Chinese ports. Right, I have heard about that. China's real mad about Australia. The Aussies.
Is he doing some type of cheat?
Kit says, is this going to affect gaming laptop prices? I wouldn't expect it to affect it as much, no. Joe's Way. What's up, guys? Really interested in OG water cooling, like aquarium pumps, sketchy radiators, tons of cold cathode lights. Is it possible to make a blast from the past Master of the Land Party build blog? That's not a terrible idea. We're actually planning a video using a heater core for water cooling. That's what that weird car radiator strapped to the top of the case video was supposed to be, but there was a miscommunication and we ended up with a radiator instead of a heater core and a video quota to hit. So that's my admission that video was not one that I would have greenlit making at all, and I am well aware that it is not our finest work.
Wait, no.
Leighton says, my Linus Sequin pillow got porch pirated, which is a bummer, but there's something satisfying about the thought of them getting all excited to see what they snagged, only for it to be Linus's face on a pillow.
That's pretty great.
Yo, that's bullshit.
That is really great. Okay. Austin says, my fear is that the FTC will stop at agriculture and the anti-right to repair crowd will use that as evidence that right to repair already exists and doesn't need to expand to tech. Yeah, I think that's a big concern for everyone. Nathan says, I bought a house 2 months ago and living in it without water, and I have finally got water in it today. I have such a higher appreciation for water now. Thanks, Nathan. That is a cool story bro moment if I've ever heard one.
Wow.
Mark Zimmerman says, hey, Linus fan since 2018. How likely do you think it is that trillion-dollar system houses like Samsung will just crowd out general-purpose hardware manufacturers with heavily proprietary commodity devices for consumers? I mean, they already try. The good news is that there's still enough competition between them. So there's that. All right.
I think he means just, I think that last super chat is talking about silicon shortage.
Oh, wait, no, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
No? Okay, okay.
QWERTY22 says, i7-6969X here, a deal's a deal. Luke DeReal MVP, sent $20. All right. So
got him.
Thanks, Matt Welke. Victor says, I have an old system that's showing a CPU bottleneck with a modern GPU. Should I upgrade now or wait for next gen and DDR5? I don't think we're that close to DDR5. I think it's coming like next year, and we're still like 6 months away.
Feel like it. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's always the question, right? Should I upgrade now or should I wait? You know what? I would just, as long as you're not paying scalper prices, just go Ryzen 5000, man. It's great. It's great. It's good stuff. Josh says, hey, I'm just wondering if your stance on sponsored showcases has changed since we got a showcase on a Tuesday in place of a normal video. I trust your ethics, just wondering what happened. What happened was Origin actually just did not weigh in at all on the content of that video. Other than that, we had to talk about the specs, which we obviously would in any video anyway. They just let us completely do our thing, and I actually really enjoyed making the video. I thought it was a good video. I thought it had a lot of actually good information. It was a very honest video. Everything I said was exactly what I thought, because I was just sitting there going, oh, they're sponsoring this video and they have absolutely no guidelines for it whatsoever. Okay, YOLO, here we go. I'm gonna make fun of giant laptops. I mean, they literally sponsored a video where I was like, people buy these things? So from my point of view, yes, it was a showcase in the sense that it was a fully sponsored video, but it also was just exactly what I would have said about that laptop anyway. So I uploaded it on a Tuesday instead of as a Friday extra release. So that's my take. Thanks, Ecom graduates. Hazardous says, tell Luke his stash is great. Luke, your stash is great.
I get positive feedback about it significantly more than negative feedback, but I don't like it.
That looks great.
It's the whiskers are just, they're so long.
Yeah, they're great. That's what I said.
All right.
What else we got here? Angelo says, play Star Citizen with my Oregon Eye, please. Mostly asking Luke. Linus is too much of a troll.
Nah. Sorry, bro. First of all, I have my own org. UOLTT. It's a thing. Second of all, it's probably going to be another like 6 months before I touch that game.
Oh, man.
And then after that, it'll probably be another 6 months. And then after that, it'll probably be another 6 months. That's probably how we keep going for quite a while.
Let's see. Julian
I'm fully
says,
not expecting Star Citizen to be in a state where I'm happy playing it consistently for probably like 3-4 more years. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I wouldn't be surprised. Julian says, bought a 40-ounce water bottle. I thought I wouldn't get it at all. It had been lost for so long. I got a refund, but I got a message from the postal office that it arrived. Here's the money back. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Kira Hirosho says, did you watch the Louis Rossman video, getting funds to put Right to Repair on the ballot? He also found out Steve Wozniak agrees with Right to Repair. Needs sponsors and wants to get the word spread. I think, unless it's a new one, I think I did, and I think I responded to it in a video. Garfish says, I actually did water cool a solar panel as a test. I glued solar pool heating strips beneath the panel. Temp coefficient for PV is like minus 0.25% per 1C above 25 degrees. If you can also heat your pool by cooling your solar panels. I am not familiar enough with those terms. Temp coefficient, panel temp coefficient. I don't know exactly what a panel temp coefficient is, but I can infer a fair bit of it. So it's like your efficiency gets 25% worse per 1 degree above 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, I think I fully understood it now. It just took me a sec. It's Friday, okay? So yeah, it sounds like if we could cool them down, that would be good. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. First time I was here live in a while. I'm super excited about the Mini SE review you guys did. I love my petrol Mini. I'm glad it sounds like I won't have to switch away from them when they go all EV at the end of the decade. Yeah, the electric Mini is pretty cool. Pretty fun. All right. What else we got here? Man, there's so many today. Okay, guys, I don't know. I don't think I can do any more. But hey, thanks. Great. Thanks for watching the show. Apparently the Rossman thing's new. I must have missed it. I've been completely checked out this week, ladies and gentlemen. It's new as of the last couple of days, so apparently there's been some big updates. Yeah, definitely fully support his cause, both literally and through influence. We've sent him money. We've made videos. We're talking about it now. Guys, it's an important cause, and it affects all of us. All of us. David Crosby sent a super chat. I'm paying just to let you know that on Bing, Floatplane is not even on the first page. I can send you a picture. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's Bing. Awesome. What do you want?
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
I do appreciate that you did like an what is it called? Not archaeological, anthropological dig to find out that in that weird realm of unknown space that is Bing, there is a search issue. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the Lord's work, truly. but seriously, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. But I mean, I guess it's a concern. I don't even know what we would do about it.
Nice. Well, you can do some stuff. The forums, the LCT forum, a topic talking about Floatplane is the first thing that comes up. Good job, forum.
Yeah, the forum SEO is a lot better. Theorica says, well, here's the problem. Linus sent the money to Louis Rossman instead of to Bing. Yep, I should have sent all the OnlyFans money to Bing. That would have sorted it out.
True.
All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you again next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Bye.
Got him.
Up and tell you about a book that I've really enjoyed this year, and that is called The Body Keeps Score. It's a really interesting read, and it taught me a lot about myself. It's all about how trauma and things that we go through in life are physically stored within our bodies and how that affects us and how we can kind of work through some of that and move on. And of course, Audible is offering my audience a free 30-day trial. So if you want to check out The Body Keeps Score, you can actually get that for free. There is a link below to get that, or you can just go to audible.com/KendallRae, or you can text Kendall Ray to 500 500. But that is it for me today, guys. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you enjoyed learning about Tom Girardi and Erica Jane. This one was really, really interesting to look into. Let me know if you guys would like to see more about lawsuits. I have been really enjoying making content like this over the past 2 months or so. I think you guys really have enjoyed it.
Wait, don't skip forward. This intro is very important, okay? Before we get to the tech news, I have something to tell you. Boobies. What are you for? Google has been sued by the state attorneys general of 36 states and Washington, D.C. It's not a state, but it does have some very cool buildings. The lawsuit is very similar to the one Epic brought against Apple, as it centers around the Googles, that's what I call them, the Google. Their 30% commission fee they take from all transactions on the Google Play Store. The lawsuit seems to have been inspired by recently changed policies from Google that will attempt to capture fees from apps that have managed to sidestep them so far, such as Netflix. The case will also bring up Google's past anti-competitive behavior, such as offering Samsung enormous benefits and sums of money in exchange for not building out the Galaxy Store, which clearly didn't work because they did that. Google's response to the lawsuit is, of course, Wahoo us? No, Android. It's an open platform. Anyone can do anything on there as long as they pay us enough money. Oh, look, it's Apple doing bad stuff.
You're not getting away with this one, Google.
Yo, we got you on our sides now, Google. U.S. President Joe Biden went ahead and issued that executive order the White House teased earlier this week, and turns out it's not just focused on the right to repair. The order covers a number of issues related to general anti-competitive behavior in many industries, including company mergers, user surveillance and data collection, and that mid-2010s buzzword, net neutrality. I miss arguing about that. In most cases, it will be up to the FTC to put the order's recommendations into action, but action on net neutrality will require the FCC's involvement, which currently often finds itself deadlocked with 2 Republican and 2 Democrat members, as Biden hasn't nominated a replacement for former FCC chairman Ajit Pai, probably because they haven't found someone with an equally silly, oversized mug. I mean, there's got to be a Democrat who loves big gulps out there or something. And Microsoft is making it a bit hard to get stoked for Windows 11 thanks to a few somewhat concerning developments. It looks like users still running Windows 7 or 8.1 will have to do a clean install of Windows 11 instead of directly upgrading, which, okay, makes sense. Those are old OSs. It's probably simpler to just wipe and start fresh. But then, let's add in a report that says Windows 11 Insider build is pretty unpolished for something that's set to release in just a few months. And also, the emergency patch Microsoft just issued to fix the print nightmare flaw didn't actually fix it. Look, I don't know what's causing the funk that Microsoft is currently in, but everything seemed fine until they announced their Microsoft Store partnership with Amazon. I don't know, Jeff Bezos might have gone and dumped some pee bottles on the servers or something.
Conspiracy.
Could be anything. Wait. There's another Riley in here. Now it's time for Quick Bits, brought to you by Blinkist, the app that takes the best insights and important info from thousands of nonfiction books and condenses them into about 15-minute chunks. Remind you of anything called Quick Bits? With Blinkist, you can read or listen to audio summaries in a wide variety of categories. Business and finance, parenting, self-help, philosophy, and they've got full audiobooks now too, with up to 65% off for premium subscribers. Learn about the cosmos from Carl Sagan, or philosophy from Marcus Aurelius. These were smart people, I think. Everyone can get the 7-day free trial and cancel anytime, but the first 100 people that go to our link, Blinkist.com/techlinked, will also get 25% off a full membership. So click the link below to check it out. Question, Colton. If a quick bit happens in a video that no one is watching, does it make a sound?
No.
Wrong. After trying to wiggle its way out of government regulation, Twitter has finally agreed to start hiring for the positions India now requires it to have, such as a chief compliance officer who will make sure posts on the platform abide by India's new content rules, which prohibit dangerous, bad things like hashtags related to farmer protests. You don't want children growing up thinking it's okay to criticize the government. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, it is chaos.
That's all Twitter is.
Criticize the government?
Yeah.
And everybody else. Qualcomm has announced the smartphone for Snapdragon Insiders, a $1,500 phone built by ASUS and designed to show off the Snapdragon 888 chipset's fancy features like 5G, Wi-Fi 6E, and onboard AI. Only Snapdragon Insiders have the privilege of buying the phone, while the rest of us are limited to making financial decisions that aren't bad. Ah, this sucks. I'm upset. Did you catch that? Speaking of phones, Front Page Tech has published what it claims are the final specs of the Google 6 and 6 Pro we'll probably be seeing in October, with the most interesting detail being the apparently Google-designed processor codenamed Whitechapel. We'll probably also be seeing the Pixel 5a, as a filing for that phone was just spotted on the FCC database. Both of these devices may come with at least 5 years of software updates, which should definitely last you until the next heat wave kills us all. Google may be looking for more money on the Play Store, but they're actually letting you take your Google funds elsewhere with an update to the Google Pay app, which will let you use them through a virtual Visa debit card at tap-to-pay NFC terminals in stores. Wait, so Google is good?
They're good, but they were bad.
Or
they're gonna be
are
bad
they
again.
bad? Do you... And OnePlus has admitted to speed limiting over 300 apps on the company's phones after an investigation called them out for the practice. But OnePlus seemed to not think it was that big of a deal, claiming it provides a smooth experience while reducing power consumption, which would sound fine if it didn't mean cutting down on Chrome's performance by around 80%. Yes. Oh, my phone lasts 3 more hours, but I spend an extra hour trying to get a freaking search result. I think that's saving the planet. I think that's what that means. Recycle. Better save your attention span for Monday, though, because that's when we'll be back with more tech news. It's the weekend now, guys. You can relax. I'm sorry I said boobies.
You're talking about something different.
No. Okay. So her test didn't allow her to participate in the 100, right?
Yes.
Which is what she's the best in the world at.
Yes.
But they also had the relay, which is later in the Olympics, which the 30-day suspension period wouldn't cover.
You're asking me about so many, like, hyper sports related questions that
You're supposed to be the expert. I'm supposed to ask questions.
No, you need to stop asking me questions, and you need to start reading these stories ahead of time.
You know what? Go fuck yourself.
You need to start reading the stories ahead of time and then telling me, because like this is not my forte. Like, I'm looking at it like 4x4 is a piece of wood. I think. I don't know what you're saying right now. I know there's a relay, but
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I don't know why they discontinued her from the team in its entirety. Like, I know what you're saying. I know that there was a likelihood that she could potentially still participate.
When do you think the Olympics, bottom line, will get rid of weed testing? Because it's got to happen eventually, right? They can't keep this up forever.
We need Joe Rogan, dude. We need Joe Rogan to come out and just be like, "This is crazy,
Joey R.
Dude. This is crazy.
We're basically chimps on a rock, on a space rock, eating elk meat, and we need to get rid of weed testing."
Jamie,
will you pull that up for me?
Jamie, pull that video up, dude.
Jamie, will you pull that up?
No, did you see the story about she's being replaced, and who she's being replaced, by the way, with?
Who?
Oh, famous character.
Well, I guess it's a
famous
false
character actor, Margot
No,
Martindale?
never mind. There was a post going around about Sha'Carri Richardson's replacement at the Olympics, and it was going to be 4th place runner Rebecca Washington or whatever, but it's fake. But people were posting it and talking about how
who the fuck
see, this is what I'm saying. It's like it's always political. Everybody latches onto these things and acts like they care about it or know about the background of it.
Well, I think a big part was Sha'Carri came out like an internet sensation, right? She had an incredible look. She smashed the records.
Yep.
Like everybody gets so patriotic around the Olympics, like you were saying. So we were all juiced that she was gonna go in there like the American Usain Bolt and just whoop everybody's ass. And then it's like, wait, why are we not whooping everybody's ass? Weed? What's more American than weed, man?
That frustrates me. But there was a fake news article from Victory News Net that was on Facebook, of course, being shared about 4th place runner Rebecca Washington is set to replace Sha'Carri Richardson on the U.S. Olympic team.
Is Rebecca Washington white?
Yes, and also the Mormon athlete says she hopes to inspire the nation's children to say no to drugs. So, like, that was a fake news story, but that was going all around. The other thing that I want to talk about is, like, there is, of course, like, there is a racialized component here. I mean, Sha'Carri Richardson and black women in the Olympics in general are heavily politicized. There's a bunch of cis black women from Africa, I believe from Namibia, that were disqualified for having testosterone levels that were too high, despite the fact that it's naturally, like, they just have a natural advantage. So
Yo, you remember when they found out Mike Phelps smoked that weed?
Yeah, I mean,
he lost what, like $10 million in ad revs?
It's so stupid. No. Like, it blows my mind. Except right now, Michael Phelps should be speaking out about this. I don't know why.
Fuck yes,
yeah, what
dude.
A fucking coward, dude.
Get back on your swimming block and go out there and fucking,
he really should be. He should be fucking getting out here and being like, yeah, this is messed up. I can't believe that this is happening.
Yeah, it's 2021, man. Come on.
It is un-American. It is actually un-American to cuck yourself and, like, deny.
You know what? They should test for hamburger. Yeah. They're gonna test for fucking weed at this point.
Like, you think Russians give a fuck if, like, one of their athletes is smoking weed, dude? They're
hell yeah.
I thought like,
hell yeah. What do you mean, Russian?
No,
Russian athletes.
Hold on.
They put them in
Let
camps,
me
bro.
finish the point, dude. What I'm trying to say is they pump I watched, like, you know, old boxing movies and shit. Like, back in the day, Russia was, like, pumping up their super soldier serum into all their fucking athletes to be American.
There were two nations that you could have mentioned that don't care about their athletes smoking weed. Or two nations that you can't mention, and it's China and Russia. They put those athletes in baby camps, dog.
You are literally failing to see the point. I'm trying to say that they will fucking pump you full of shit and try to evade the authorities.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, America's like, yeah, weed, yep,
but they won't let you eat candy. Nothing that makes you happy.
That's true.
Bro, I met a Russian Olympic wrestler, and he wasn't allowed to take hot showers because they would make him mentally weak.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm not kidding you.
No hot shower for me. I am not gay.
Yeah, what are you?
What
gay?
are you, homosexual?
I have to make my body strong.
Yeah, I am not women.
No, dude. Bro, they are a different. Russian Olympic athletes and Chinese Olympic athletes are different.
It's wild,
they live
though.
a different life than
America
you or I.
still beats ass.
Chinese divers and gymnastics, like gymnastic floor exercise, like they like from the time that they can toddler, they are like competing at the highest level.
But America's still beating cheeks. So what's up?
Not
with that?
in diving.
Oh,
did you watch diving 4 years ago?
I don't know.
China won every fucking medal.
Why
there
would I know
wasn't a
that?
single splash. They went into the water and it was Lake Placid, bro. They just go. It's crazy.
Why do you know this?
I can't believe you don't get juiced about the Olympics.
I just don't care. I literally, I'm honest. I just do not care at all. Like I don't feel a sense of patriotism for any particular team. It's like
You've never watched Miracle on Ice, have you?
No. What the
You
fuck is
have
that?
to leave the United States.
What is that? Is that like
Whoa!
ice skating?
What is that?
What is Miracle
The
on Ice?
greatest sports upset of all time?
What is it about?
The U.S. Olympic hockey team beat the Russians?
Yeah, that's why I don't give a shit. Why do I care? Why would I care? Is that the Mighty Ducks? Is that what that is?
Oh my God, we have to move on. I cannot believe you just said,
Why
is
are
that
you-
the mighty Gordon Bombay? The made up Disney story?
Yeah. I
The
guess.
Mighty Ducks is fictional, you crazy motherfucker.
Okay. I don't
That's
know.
like you asking if it was the Sandlot.
I thought it was like there
Who
was,
do you skate for? Who do you play for?
What? The Mighty Ducks?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
You're saying
Do
things
you
then.
believe in miracles? Yes. You've never heard that.
No. Why are you looking at me like I'm crazy? Dude,
It's like, bro,
it's like
I'm
two
trying to
things I
explain
do
what
not-
it's like.
These are two things that I do not know anything about or care about at all.
It's literally the clip of the Americans going out on the ice and the guy going, "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes, is probably the most played sports clip ever. Like next to Jordan Game 6, the 3-pointer where he like hangs
I
that
know
shit
that
up.
one. I have seen that one. See, basketball's interesting to me. Hockey.
Oh
is
my
not.
God, shut the
I mean, hockey logistically is an interesting sport. I don't know why I don't watch it. I like.
dude. Playoff hockey is regular season hockey, no good. Playoff hockey, incredible.
Here's a sport I will never be able to understand or watch: baseball. It's
Oh
so
yeah, I
boring.
mean, I'm not gonna fight you on that one, but hockey, like every 5 minutes, someone's getting hit with a stick or fought.
That's cool. I get that. It's like you have 6'7"
Oh my
like
God, here we go,
robots
cheater
Yeah,
character
on
again.
fucking
Traveling at 80 miles per hour
Yeah.
on rock hard ice.
Yeah, and they have skates on. I don't understand it. And then they have weapons where they hit each other.
They give them weapons.
It's pretty cool. Like it's like a cool.
Yeah.
I think it's too cool. Where it's kind of like lacrosse. Like lacrosse is supposed to be like a
Lacrosse is too cool, too fun.
Yeah, it's like it just is not popular. It's just not popping.
Because it's just too cool.
Like I don't understand it. Like it should be. It's got it all. You're hitting people with sticks and shit.
Yeah.
But it's just not there.
Yeah.
And I think hockey is kind of like that too. Even though hockey is very popular, obviously not like lacrosse, but not as popular as like football.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Let's move on from.
What's up, good people? How you doing? This is Larry Jones. You guys already know. Do the like, subscribe, notification bell, all of that. Been following me for a while. Go ahead and hit the like button. Helps keep me alive. Let's talk about the market today. It looked like it was a one-day crash this morning. Everything was, the futures were down. We knew it was going to be a red day. You name it, the Dow, S&P, all of that. Red, red, red. It's like that song, Red, Red Wine. And so everything was going down. No one fully knew what was going on. There was a couple of things. The Chinese crackdown on companies, fear of raising rates. And it's just a lot going on. So let's just dive right into it. The fear of inflation and raising rates, should I say. And no one this morning knew exactly what it was. So I apologize. I've been running all day. We got to still do doctor's visits and all of this stuff. And I've just been watching it from my phone. But here's what I do know. All right. We noticed the stock market had a sell off this morning. Tech was tanking. Tech had started sliding earlier this week. Yesterday was a bad day for tech, and it just continued on till today. But the S&P and the Nasdaq, they hit record highs. And when a tree doesn't grow forever, and when something hit its records high in the markets, of course, they can't continue to stay up. And so we started having a pullback. Of course, the bond yields, the 10-year bond yields, it's like the fourth straight day negative. And for those of you that know, usually when bond yields go up, green, tech goes down. Well, today they're both down. And so it's the fourth straight day. China's crackdown on companies, and you're going to see that is going to affect Chinese companies, which presents some buying opportunities. Myself, I bought some NEO yesterday on these concerns, right? Like they cracked down on DIDI. And so it's putting a lot of fear with Chinese companies. Having said that, companies like Tesla, which operates in China, China is a big part of their market, the EV market, because there are way more EVs in China than there is America. It has a negative effect on Tesla, which to me presented a buying opportunity. I bought some yesterday. I haven't bought any today. I'm going to look at it post-market, which if you have Webull, you're able to trade after the market closes. I'm going to see where it is today, okay? So you say, well, why would that have a negative effect on Tesla? Because Tesla has AI, and you look at Tesla with AI and autonomous driving and all of that capability. They're worried about being close to their army bases, just like we would be worried if NEO was around our army bases with cameras and all of this AI capability in the car. It's just not good for security. So then it has a negative effect on Tesla. Me personally, I think that we always have a knee-jerk reaction first, meaning we overcorrect or we oversell. And so I'm looking for opportunities like that, even with Tesla. I still say Tesla will probably go under $600 again. All we need is another crash, another fire. So keep your eye out on that. Let's keep it going. All right. Let's see here. We had rotation. Okay, so we had rotation out of tech, as you know, some month ago. Everybody they fled from tech. All of the tech companies tanked, and EVs tanked because they're tied to tech. And then we had a rotation back in, right? And so tech has been running up.
Yeah,
you
whatever.
see Tesla, NEO, all of that, CCIV have been making gangbusters. And some of the FANG stock have been coming back real strong. And now they're fleeing back out of tech. But I think that that's temporary, transitory. I believe that that's
Happy Friday night live, everybody. It's good to see you coming in. I hope that we'll start to learn a little bit more about what was going on at Girardi Keese, the law firm, because I imagine that these two attorneys are going to go, this is what Girardi was doing. We don't have access to the books. We don't know. I imagine that's going to be their defense. So that's very interesting to me that contempt proceeding is still moving along, and we might see what the other attorneys at the firm were up to during this period of time. It's like a cut scene in the movie, and it's like, and over here, this is what was happening. I'm looking forward to seeing what information comes out of that. I imagine this is very stressful for all involved, but Edelson PC's like, you didn't pay us and you didn't pay all these clients. Where is it? It's $2 million. Like, in the grand scheme of everything we've seen, why couldn't $2 million get paid? Those attorneys declined to comment when asked for comment. One of the attorneys for the attorney said, Mr. Griffin is devastated and is similarly angered that the clients have not been paid their settlement money as required by the court order. Mr. Griffin spent months. Oh my God, my cat just scared the crap out of me because I didn't know he came in. You scared me, Fred. You saw the genuine shock. I was like, what is touching my legs? Where did you go? right. Well, nobody can see you down there, so nobody knows that you're here. Come on. You can do that. Fred's like, we need a Fred break. Go ahead. Come on. Hello, Ponard. Welcome. You just want to get to the other side of the desk and play with the Kleenex. Fair enough. He scared the crap out of me. What was I saying? I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, heart attack time.
Oh my god.
The court said that, oh no, Mr. Griffin's statement. Mr. Griffin spent months and months trying to get Girardi to complete his promises and obligations to the clients in the court. However, holding Griffin personally responsible for civil contempt is not appropriate based on the above facts. I want to know what he knew. Like, what was he trying to do to get these clients paid? I want to know. I would love to hear that. So that's what's going on with regard to the cases that are ongoing in Illinois with Edelson PC, with the Lion Air crash, and with the other members or former members now of the Girardi Keese firm. In other news, Erica Girardi got some new lawyers, which doesn't surprise me really after her other lawyers, if you'll remember, her other lawyers tried to fire her as a client and went to the court and was like, we can no longer work together, we're out. And then they were like, no, just kidding. The relationship has been fixed, we're back. But now new counsel in both cases filed on the 5th of July a substitution of attorney form saying, hey, in this bankruptcy case, me, Evan Borhe of Greenberg and Goss, or Gross, yeah, that's Gross, is substituting in. And this is the former attorney saying, yep, we're cool with it. Go ahead, enjoy. It's all yours. So Erica has attorneys that have substituted in for her on the bankruptcy case, which happened earlier this week. Can we believe that we're still the week after the 4th of July? Like, I cannot believe it. We are looking for a response from Ron Richards because I had pulled the agreement where they all stipulated to later times and then completely forgot that I had pulled it because the original date that was due was the 2nd of July and then it got pushed. I think I even talked about it on video and then completely forgot that I had talked about it. That got pushed to July 16th. So next week, that should be filed before the end of the stream. And we will see if that happens. And then the bankruptcy stay was lifted with regards to some of the victims in the personal bankruptcy case of Tom Girardi. This is the Gomez family. They are owed $11 million by Tom Girardi. They attached his personal assets, his home, and all that. They got a judgment lien against Tom Girardi and his assets. They have been in court trying to subpoena Erica before the bankruptcy started. And we saw clips of a deposition they did with Tom Girardi in The Housewife and The Hustler. Now the court has lifted the bankruptcy stay that stops all the other actions, stops the action they had going on in state court to try to execute the judgment, try to get the money back. They had an $11 million judgment. They're entitled to that money and they're trying to get it. But in a bankruptcy stay, everything connected to this stops. The judge said, no, we will lift the stay for one limited purpose, which is identifying recoverable assets and gathering information that will lead to other recoverable assets. They can continue to figure out where the money went and what money Erica has. All assets identified by the Gomez family shall be subject to all rights of the Girardi bankruptcy estate and the law firm Girardi Keese bankruptcy estate, which parties shall meet and confer in good faith to determine the character and ownership of the assets. So the bankruptcy judge said, yes, you can continue to try to find assets, but when you find assets, you have to turn over your work to the class, where the group has to then decide what happens to those assets. So it's not that the Gomez family can go find assets and then be like, we're good, bye. They have to come back and then resolve it with the two bankruptcy trustees for Girardi Keese and for Tom Girardi personally. The hope here, I think, is that state court will move a bit faster because they've been doing this and they were at the point where they were subpoenaing Erica to find out this information and should be able to get that to happen much quicker than in the bankruptcy court to try to get back those monies. And that's really what's happening with that stay. It allows them to continue on the process that they were already on with regard to Erica. So this was filed in court on the 6th. I know stuff was popping in this court and stuff was popping in the other one all at the same time. So this was an order to approve a stipulation between the trustee and secured creditors for relief from bankruptcy stay. So this is an agreement that was made. The judge memorialized it. The other bankruptcy trustee had objected. The court approved it and said, you know what? Keep going. We're trying to find these assets. If you're going to take the time to continue on the case you're on, you're allowed to do so. So the motion is granted, the stipulations approved, the automatic stay is lifted to identify the assets, elicit information that would lead to assets, and renewing the ORAP liens, if any exist, which are the liens they put on assets. And then to the extent avoidance actions are required, such actions shall only be commenced by this court. So some of the rights are still retained by the bankruptcy court, but they can continue investigating it. The Rigomez family, the Girardi trustee, and the GK, Girardi Keys trustee, shall cooperate with each other with the collection efforts against Erica and third-party transferees, anyone else who got money, but mostly Erica. And wow, okay, hi. I heard that. Including but not limited to the scheduling of examinations, providing transcripts of examinations, and providing access to related procured documents. Y'all gonna have to work together and turn over your work for the group project. So now this is a group project between the bankruptcy trustee for Tom Girardi, the bankruptcy trustee for Girardi Keys, the counsel hired by the bankruptcy trustee for Tom Girardi, which is Boris Trazion from Axe, the attorney hired by the bankruptcy trustee for Girardi Keys, which at the time is Ron Richards. We'll see if he stays on the case. There's a motion pending. And the Rue Gomez family and their attorneys. Y'all gonna have to work together to find these assets. That's what that lift of stay is, to try to track down this money before really it's gone, is I think what the hope is here. Fred's just gonna make himself comfortable on the desk. He's like, it's nice and cool. So that's kind of a brief update of what was happening in the Girardi case. Are you guys ready to talk about Brittany? Let me know if you're ready to talk about Brittany, and we will get to that in just a second. Question, now that we all know that Erica filed for divorce November 3rd, when did the Illinois judge bring all this to everyone's attention? Oh, I'd have to go back in my things. Hold on, no, it might be right here. That's a good question. The Edelson PC suit was filed after that because her divorce was part of what prompted it. And I have it in, let's see what file I have it in. I have it in my file because now I'm curious. Let me find it. But the Edelson PC case was filed right after that because that's the case that alleged that the divorce was a sham. So that's where that came from in the Lion Air case. Let me see where I have the original. Let me see. That was filed on 12/2/2020 is when the complaint was filed. So almost a month after the divorce was filed, that's when it was done. So that is a great question. Thank you for asking it. So thank you. It's time to get to Brittany. There are so many Brittany motions. It's time. Uh-oh, I just closed I can't put up a poll because I just closed it, but we'll put up a poll in a minute. We don't need it right now. We've got a whole bunch of Brittany motions to get to because new stuff has been popping off left and right. As expected, the judge has pushed. Oh, I should swoop. Oh, we're gonna swoop. It's Brittany. It's Brittany time. There have been a bunch of motions. There have been objections by Brittany's dad. There is a whole fuck ton of stuff happening in the Britney Spears conservatorship case. I'm going to pull up all my documents and we're going to get to it. As anticipated, the judge today has pushed more of these motions onto July 14th. So everything that's happening right now in court has been shoved to July 14th. The things that we are tracking right now with regard to Brittany are Brittany's mom's motion for Brittany to be allowed to hire private counsel. Brittany's mom said, let Brittany hire her own attorney. I'm petitioning the court to allow that to happen without an examination. The court said, cool. We'll talk about it on the 14th. Brittany's guardian of the person, conservator of the person, temporary, Jody Montgomery filed two motions. Jody Montgomery said, I would like to appoint a guardian ad litem. Well, I would like the court to appoint a guardian ad litem to help Brittany hire private counsel. She doesn't need an examination. The guardian ad litem can work with her on this. It's somebody not connected to this case. And I would like to be allowed the court to follow this procedure. Brittany wants private counsel. I can't guide her on hiring private counsel. Someone else needs to help guide her in this. And right now, her attorney is trying to bounce. The court said, good, we'll hear that on the 14th. Brittany's attorney is trying to resign, and the court said, good, we'll hear it on the 14th. Jody Montgomery also filed a motion with regard to security fees, saying, hey, shit's gotten wild. Can you please approve the estate of Britney Spears, the conservatorship estate, paying for personal security with regard to all of this? And in that motion, I'm going to pull it up because Dad Spears objected to the motion, and the objection and the motion don't jive with each other, which is very interesting. So let me pull up Jody Montgomery's motion real quick. And the court said, what did the court say? Cool. Let's hear this on the 14th. So Dad Spears also objected to the appointment of a guardian ad litem. We'll get to that in a minute too. We're going to pull up the motions and then pull up the objections. So here's the ex parte motion from her. This is Jody Montgomery's motion to cover the expenses with regard to the threats that are happening. We already went through this motion pretty thoroughly, and that is in the breakdown on the channel, and it's in the Britney Spears playlist. I believe it's the last time we talked about Britney that was going on. There are texts from Britney saying, I still want you to be on this case. And then there's emails between Jody and everybody else. So this is the security professionals saying at 14 days, it's going to be $25,000. It's a lot of money. It's armed guards. But this is the interesting thing. This is from one of the attorneys for Dad Spears. And it's, hey, Vipe, good to see you. And it's saying, Jody, just want to give you a quick update since my prior email. Your safety is of paramount importance, and in reviewing your request, it wasn't clear to me if you had notified law enforcement. If so, please do. Second, Jamie has approved hiring additional security effective immediately. Let me know when they arrive. Third, Jamie has requested a meeting with Sam and Bessemer to alert them to your concerns. Fourth, Jamie has requested that we put together a risk assessment analysis promptly, inclusive of implementation of recommended protocols. Lastly, Jamie has requested that appropriate court approvals be obtained as expeditiously as possible. Hey, we're going to approve it, but we also want the court to approve it because we don't want the court to come back later and say, why'd you approve this expense? Because all these expenses do go through the court. So, hey, get it approved. That's not what Dad Spears says in his motion. Dad Spears in his motion says, oh, we don't want to pay for that. So the email is saying, we're all good, just get court approval. And then the objection was like, yeah, no, we didn't say that. So Dad Spears files this motion to the court opposing the petition for instructing the conservators of the estate to pay for additional security expenses. Literally, what the fuck? The court should deny the petition because such an expense is not reasonable, necessary, or proper. What? Your attorney said, we're going to approve it, but could you get court approval? Which is appropriate. Get the court to say that it's okay. And then he objects going, we're not going to do that. What the fuck? Let's look at the dates on these. This is literally the date, July 8th. Let me pull up the date of that email real quick. I'm going to just do them side by side because I don't want to have to keep putting them back and then pulling them back up again. So let me just pull it up because it's like literally a day or two has gone by from, we've approved it. They should be there soon. Please ask the court for approval quickly. And we're not doing that. It seems like a really big turnabout on a fairly serious topic. And I don't understand. It's like, what in the manipulation is going on here? And I don't understand why this is the play. Like, why is it the play to fuck with somebody over this when he's paying for his security through the estate too? This email was sent June 30th. So June 30th, your safety is of paramount importance. And it's, talk to law enforcement. We're approving it. They should be there now. Let us know. We're approving it effective immediately. That's on literally June 30th. July 8th is, we don't think any of this is necessary. Mr. Spears is very concerned about the situation that has been developing for many months and the dangerous rhetoric that has been circulating for quite some time regarding the conservatorship. Dad Spears is aware of the increasing number of threatening communications and social media posts directed at various individuals of the conservatorship, apparently including Miss Montgomery now. Spears himself has been the subject of innumerable and ongoing threats. But for years, I've been dealing with this for years. So Mr. Spears understands well the challenges inherent to the position he holds and the work he performs on behalf of his daughter. Just. Oh, we know how hard it is because we've been doing this for years. Welcome to the big show, sweetie. Man up. That is what this is saying to me, and it's just annoying the shit out of me. However, Spears disagrees and objects to the request for 24/7 live security for herself at the cost of the conservatorship. The court should consider additional factors beyond what she's alleged. So the court's like, yeah, we're going to set this all over for hearing. We're going to set this all over for hearing. Mr. Spears is informed and believes that the Conservatives' court-appointed counsel, Ingham, has received threatening communications, including receiving 2 very threatening voicemails just this weekend. Spears himself and his attorneys have received similar threatening communications, including threats of violence and death, for some time. The court therefore needs to know that Ms. Montgomery is not the only person who might seek additional protection paid by the estate. Based on the estimate provided, the court of the conservatorship estate live security service could exceed $50,000 per month. The court should consider how much security is truly necessary. Here's the thing. At the end of it, at the end of all of this, what he had said was, it is not appropriate for Mr. Spears to be put in the position of picking and choosing among who of the many individuals impacted by the conservatorship should be permitted to charge the expense of live security services to the estate. As a licensed professional fiduciary, Ms. Montgomery should pay for any security services personally as a cost of doing business. What? First of all, I agree that there should probably be parameters and the court should look into the severity of the threats. But the security company that Jamie referred to Jody Montgomery based on these documents said, this is our assessment of what you need. It wasn't Jody Montgomery going, this is what I must have. The security company said, we've assessed the threat and this is what you need for now.
Trying to defend this person so much.
The fuckery on this is just so wild. And the like, oh yeah, we're cool, we're gonna do it. I am changing the lights. I'm changing the lights. The security of, oh, we're doing it, it's fine. And then the turnabout of, oh no, we're not gonna do it. No, we're not gonna do it. No, we're not gonna do it. This is not all the way red. There we go. It's just, my phone fell. He's running PR expenses through the conservatorship. What? This objection. And the court's like, we're going to do it on the 14th. Okay, thanks, bye. The next motion that he objects to is the appointing of the guardian ad litem, which is a motion I quite like. I know not everybody likes it. That's totally fine. I think it's a good plan. I think it's a way to get an independent attorney to do nothing but help Brittany hire an attorney. So the guardian ad litem would be a limited purpose just to help Brittany hire her own counsel now that her counsel is trying to quit. I think that that's a good thing. I see it as a way to get her somebody outside of the group that has been dealing with this for 13 years and give her someone who might be there just for her. And his objection, let me find it within all of these objections because there's a lot of them and they got a little out of order. My apologies. That's the estate. This is it. So, Dad Spears' response to temporary conservator of the person Jody Montgomery's ex-party petition for an appointment of a guardian ad litem. The ex-party petition should be heard along with related matters on the 14th, and that's exactly what the court did. The ex parte petition raises complex factual and legal issues that require additional notice and briefing. Did I not say that that's exactly what they were going to say? They were going to say it to Mom Spears too. No, we need additional briefing. No, we need additional this. We need more time, including, among others, the facts and circumstances that support the appointment of a guardian ad litem for Ms. Spears and the structure mechanism that will be used by the court to determine whether the appointment is appropriate. Brittany said she wants private counsel. Brittany said she doesn't want to be evaluated again. Brittany's lawyer said he would help her do that, and then he is trying to quit. Who else is going to help her do it? It's a conflict of interest for her dad to do it. It's a conflict of interest for her guardian ad litem to do it, and her court-appointed attorney is trying to bail. Who else is going to do it? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? That's how I feel. Who else? Who else can help her hire an attorney? She's not going to be allowed to do it herself. The guardian ad litem wouldn't have a capacity argument to say they don't have capacity to do it. And if you don't want to do that, appoint Lynn Spears as attorneys to do it. Let them do it. Oh, this is so frustrating. So the argument is we need additional briefing. Further, the issue raised by the ex parte petition implicates and relates to other matters already pending on the 14th. Well, true, including the application for appointment of counsel filed by court-appointed attorney Sam Ingham. What the court could do is say, you know what? Sam Ingham's asking for court-appointed counsel to represent Brittany as her attorney. Jody Montgomery's asking for a guardian ad litem. We're going to appoint a guardian ad litem and let her hire private counsel because her mom also petitioned for private counsel. That just makes the most sense. And that's the only thing that's going to get done on the 14th. And then everything's going to get put over like 6 months for that attorney to get up to speed. It's just a mess. Here's how I feel about the motion with regard to the security. I think Dad Spears is trying to scare off Jody Montgomery. I think he's trying to make sure that she will leave because she's afraid. And that is a big concern if she does that, because if she leaves because she's afraid, who is going to be there asking for these things to be done? I don't know. So it is concerning to me. It's a lot concerning to me. And we need additional briefing. We already see where this is going. On the 14th, they're going to look at the judge and be like, well, Your Honor, we can't possibly make these decisions today. We need additional briefing. Brittany's supposed to appear at the hearing on the 14th. Everyone has put in notices of remote appearance according to the court docket. So you see the argument being set up now. Well, we can't possibly go forward. We need briefing. Put it over for 6 months. I think he's trying to get space from the court hearing. This is my supposition. Trying to get space from the court hearing to distance further the people who are there trying to get Brittany the thing that she wants, which is away from her dad and private counsel. I just don't know how it's going to go, and I'm just very, very frustrated with it. I'm going to check this notice that I got because it's interesting and it looks interesting to me. So give me 1 second as I check this. I've been following a couple cases because of other things that are happening, and it looks like there's I put it in wrong. It looks like there's a new notification. And I want to see if I can pull up the documents easily and quickly. And if I can't, then I won't. Let me do this real quick. And if I can't, I won't. And the mods are like, don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't. Please don't do it. Oh, I got logged out. That's so annoying. All right, I'll log back in a second. But we're going to go to questions. I'm going to continue to look for that because it's hard for me to process information that comes across while we're here. River said, yeah, but he doesn't want anyone to help Brittany with getting an attorney. That's right. It seems like he doesn't. That's my opinion. It feels like he doesn't. He argued again that he argued when Bessemer was getting appointed that they shouldn't be given full access as a co-conservator. He seems to me has been grabbing at control as much as he can. We're moving into questions, so let's just move into questions. So let's just move into questions. I'll try to find that on the side, but it's time for questions. It's been a busy one. Oh my God, we're almost 2 hours in. It is so frustrating. Question, can you check the filing from Jody today as TMZ is reporting? I didn't see a new filing from Jody today. Let me look at what TMZ is saying. It might be the ones that we've already covered. I see, here, I'll just pull up what I see. I don't always love the way TMZ reports things. Gloves comes off in conservatorship battle. Jody rips into Jamie. Britney Spears has a front row seat for a battle royale between her father and her personal conservator, Jody, who's firing back. Montgomery filed docs Friday, blasting the dad for attempting to lay blame at her feet for Britney's brutal treatment. Jody says it's ironic that Mr. Spears now wants the conservatorship to reflect her wishes, since it's no secret that Mr. Spears has wished her father out of her life for years. As for Jamie, in a previous filing that Jody or others have prevented him from communicating with Britney, Jody writes, Miss Spears is the one who cut him off. That was her choice, not Miss Montgomery's. According to the docs, Jody also says it's absurd for Jamie to suggest she's making decisions without him. Let me pull it up because I have like multiple court alerts going off. So let me pull that up real quick. The mods are like, no, don't. Yes, do. Yes, do. And I haven't been able to go through all of the alerts on my email. So let's pull this up because these things do populate late for me because this is West Coast. So as per TMZ, Jody just ripped Jamie a new one. Well, probably popped up because when I was prepping for it, nothing was there. So it must have popped up. And it's probably one of the things that I'm getting pinged about. So let me let the court system work and see. Hold on. Question. Will we even know what happens on the 14th, assuming everything's going to be sealed? I don't know. If they allow people to report on the hearing, then you might have reporters in the room that respond, that actually attend. If it's sealed, we might not know much. So let's see what documents have been filed. Supplement number 2 to fee petition was filed today. Notice of appearance, notice of hearing. I am not seeing anything new filed by her, but let me pull this up because I'm only seeing a supplement to the fee petition. And unless she's slamming him in the supplement to the fee petition, but let me pull that up and see what it is because that one wasn't there earlier. This case has been moving so fast. Question from Yamino Gaming. Will you cover the Ace family lawsuits? Yes, I will. I don't have the documents yet, so I have not pulled them up yet.
Got him, yes.
I've got the ex parte order. I've got the notice of hearing. I've got the James Spears opposition. It's just this supplement to fee petition that I don't have. And this one. All right, let me pull those up. They'll have to be emailed to me and we will see. It's just so much stuff. Question. Hello from Australia. This is Zero Shade. I love Britney. Who is responsible for her hair? Seems that they can spend so much money on their PR. She should, well, yes, but they're not allowing her to. And she complained about that in court, that she has not been allowed to have her personal care team. Some of that's due to COVID lockdowns in California, because COVID lockdowns weren't allowing anything to be done for quite a long time. But yes, it seems like she should be allowed to take care of herself. And she did complain about that in court. So, yep. Just like a circus, why is everyone giving her dad so much power but ignoring all this obvious buffoonery? Because he's the one in control of the money right now. And they're going to have to try to wrest that control from him. And they've been chipping away at it by giving Bessemer co-equal powers. And Bessemer's trying to bail, which is why I'm frustrated Bessemer's trying to bail. WWE main event, JM versus JS cage match. I mean, I'm kind of living for Jody Montgomery being like, no, fuck this. We're not doing this. This is ridiculous. I'm here for it, for sure. So let's pull up these new filings and see what is said. These are all just notice of hearings. This is from Jody Montgomery. So let me save this and pull this one up. Supplement 2 to petition for order allowing and approving payment of compensation to temporary conservator of the person and her attorneys. Okay, so this is a fee petition. Let me go ahead and save this. real quick so I can pull it up. Then I've got to be able to pull it up on screen, so it's got to go in the thing. Ugh, it's so much stuff, you guys. I'm here for it, but this case is moving fast. Like fast. So, question, is there any benefit to the ACLU becoming involved if Brittany could find any way to connect with them? I don't know if they would have standing at this point. Brittany needs someone who can help her hire an attorney, and the court would have to allow that to happen. And it seems that Dad Spears is trying to object to that happening, well, or at least put it over till the 14th. So someone needs to help Brittany hire counsel. That seems to be the only way forward. It should be that Sam Ingham helped, but maybe it's better to have a third party who's not involved in this at all.
They're just waiting.
Question, could Jody or I'm not familiar with Wendy Williams's video. So Jody Montgomery, when she talked about the death threats, said that she would provide those to the court to take a look at. So if whatever there is, the court can ask for that with regard to spending these fees. Let me see. A question, if God forbid something happens to Jody before the security matter is settled, could she sue? Tammy, that's a really hard answer because there's not an obligation. But I wonder if she has security right now and they're just fighting over whether she's going to foot the bill for this down the road, because the attorney said, hey, we're giving it to you. So, and they should be there now. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to go back and sweep for super chats in just a minute. Taz, I missed this one. I'm sorry. Dad Spears says he has Brittany's best interest, but anytime anyone wants to do anything to help Brittany, he tries to stop them. And Delta Saves has the reasons why. Follow the money. Follow the money. He is making so much money off of this estate that it's really, really difficult to see that he could want this to end, because this is his sole livelihood. Question, if Brittany has requested to terminate the conservatorship, which she did quite publicly at the last hearing, how long can Sam get away with not filing it? Sam cannot file it. He's petitioned to resign. He's not going to file it now. And with him petitioning to resign, it's going to take a while for a new attorney to get up to speed to even make that motion to determine if it's in Brittany's best interest or not. She can say, I want you to terminate this, and he can say that's not in your best interest, which is kind of the fucked thing about all of this. Can the Brittany judge be recalled or have someone run against her? I don't know when she's up for election. It would be difficult, and it wouldn't necessarily put somebody different in that seat because she's a probate judge. So the person running against her wouldn't, that's not quite how that works. The person running against her wouldn't necessarily go into her exact probate seat. So if Jody M gets scared off, does Dad Spears get control of the person? They would have to appoint somebody new of the person. And we don't know who it will be. It's clear they don't want it to be Dad Spears, but because he's the conservator of the estate, it would be easiest to make it Dad Spears, which is concerning. So, Jody Montgomery, supplement number 2 to petition for order allowing and approving payment of compensation to temporary conservator of the person and her attorneys. All right, let's just get into the shade here. Thank you, mods. I know if some of you have to go that we're running long. I appreciate you. And we will do this real quick. As quick as we can. Conservator of the person of Brittany Jean Spears respectfully presents her supplement number 2 to her petition for order allowing and approving payment of compensation. RE JTDs 2, 4, and 6. Note Bessemer Trust petition to resign elsewhere on calendar. And note that no LTRs of estate have yet issued to Bessemer. These are letters of conservatorship. Petitioner amends the fee petition to reflect Bessemer's trust petition to resign as follows. So this is Jody Montgomery updating her fee petition, approving the fees incurred by temporary conservator in the amount of $221,000 for services rendered by her to the conservatorship from November 1st to February 28th, November 1st, 2019 to February 28th, 2021. Authorizing, instructing the currently serving conservator of the estate to pay temporary conservator Jody Montgomery outstanding fees for $44,000. approving fees to the attorneys for $65,000 from November 1st, 2019 through February 2021, authorizing and instructing the currently serving conservator of the estate to pay, confirming to the court's order, and that's it. There is nothing else I see filed, so I'm not quite sure exactly what TMZ is referring to because I don't see anything else filed here. I will refresh it one more time, but that's what I see is the fee assessment. Could the blatant switcheroo of Jody's security be helpful to Brittany, providing her dad is an incompetent and unfit conservator? I don't know. I don't know. I think there could be an argument saying, look, he's saying one thing and doing another. I think there's a strong argument to say, look, he's playing games with the money, or he's holding the money over people's heads, which is something that Brittany said in court. Britain said, wait, Americans elect all judges. No, not all judges. It's fairly complex, but at the state level, most judges are elected at the state level. And as you move up, judges get appointed for life at different levels of court, appellate courts, Supreme Courts, state Supreme Courts. But at the kind of low, I hate to say lowest level because it feels like, but at the state level of courts, judges get elected and can be elected out of office. They can be reelected and they can be bounced. Question, do you have an opinion as to why the court has not ordered an independent financial audit and independent review of her care? They haven't been asked to do that until Dad Spears made the motion to do that. And I was optimistic Bessemer Trust would do that, but we're not seeing Bessemer Trust being willing to stay on here. So let me go look and see what TMZ said, because TMZ did not say which documents these were that were filed. So yes, they do say it's full on war. Yes, I think that we're going to definitely see them point it out. This is the motion we just read. Hey, judge, approve my $221,000 in fees. She should be getting paid. This is like a year of work. So I don't know what else. I don't know what this is about from 6:41 p.m. It might just not have populated in the court record yet. So if it populates over the weekend, I'll do a short on it. Otherwise, it'll push to Tuesday, and I'm sure it will populate. TMZ often has things sooner than I see them show up on the court website. But right now, there is nothing else on the court website. I have some notifications about other stuff. If stuff really pops off, we'll just do another live because we've been live for over 2 hours tonight. And there will be more to cover. Galaxy S, this is how do you prove conservatorship abuse? There's going to have to be an independent investigation. Here's the difficult thing, and I want nothing more than for Brittany to feel safe, to feel heard, and to feel like she has autonomy of her life. But if there are things underlying this conservatorship to make some of these restrictions legally or medically appropriate, though it feels abusive to Brittany and it looks abusive to the outside, it might not legally meet the standard because there could be justification. I have a lot of questions about it, but that is the other side of the legal argument. There is hope by me and others that if Bessemer stays on, they will at least be looking at how money's being spent and if there's been any fraud in that. So there are quite a lot of questions. Question, can Brittany sue everyone before being released? She has to have an attorney to look into everything first, and there has to be grounds to sue everybody on. And I don't know what those would be yet. I just want to see what happens next. Like, trying to think through all the different avenues are difficult. But remember, the conservators have a fiduciary responsibility to do what is best for the estate. So for her dad's job is not to protect her per se, but to protect the estate. The conservator of her person is supposed to do what's right to protect Brittany and to protect Brittany's interests. The estate's to protect the financial interest. So proving fraud in that is going to be hard, showing, hey, how is this in the financial interest? Because every time there's expenditures, they go to the court and the court has to approve them. So if the court was just rubber stamping expenditures because Sam Ingham wasn't objecting to them, there's bigger questions there. Now we're seeing Britney's mom's lawyers objecting to stuff and saying, wait, whoa, why are you spending money on this? I don't agree, particularly with regard to the PR stuff. So if the attorneys just weren't active, is that fraudulent? No, because the court's still approving it. Is that strongly less than desirable? Yes. Could it be fraudulent with more information? Anything is possible. We just don't have that information. There are still so many questions in this that I'm trying.